are here today with Nathaniel Agoye.
You said it right.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about saying last names, and I got to always make sure that I'm saying them right.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's the power of editing. You can always start over.
I thought you were going to butcher it straight up.
No, I got it. I got her. So you mentioned when you walked in here that you're prepping right now.
Yes, I'm prepping for my, how many shows now? This will be my fourth or fifth time competing in the WNBF. I'm not really keeping track. I'll probably keep doing this for a while.
Yeah.
But this is the show that I'm actually prepping for right now is for my first CPA show. So my debut in the CPA. So the CPA, for those of you who don't know, is I believe it stands for Canadian Physique Alliance, and it's a Canadian version of the NPC, which is basically the junior version or like the younger sister to the IFBB. So competing as a...
So IFBB is the top one.
Yeah, so IFBB is kind of like the professional league, and then the NPC is the amateur league. So NPC is the amateur league in the States, and then CPA is the amateur league in Canada. So once you get your pro card, you're an IFBB pro.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. So yeah, because Leo and I talked about this when Leo was on the podcast.
Yeah.
Now, when you get into that CPA, are you going up against competitors that are no longer in that natural realm?
Yes. Well, so with the CPA, they actually offer a few different competitions, or so they have the natural competitions as well. So you can go as a natural athlete and compete there. But I mean, I've seen pictures of some of the guys who compete as natural on that day. And the thing too is, even the CPA will say you have to be natural the day of the show. So that means you can take whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, but just get off of it and make sure, if they test you, you have to be natural that day. So basically, some people are not natural. They're just natural the day of the show. So I figured, instead of me competing with a federation where they allow, PDs and everything, they allow an open playing field, and then, somebody's going to come in natural the day of the show, but they're not really natural. I figured might as well just play with the big boys. So I'm actually doing a non-natural show. So like it's untested. I want to roll with the big boys, and I want to see what I can do with my two testes. That's it's one of those. Like that's all. It's just me and my two testes. So like that's all I'm doing, man.
I'm stealing that. Okay.
So no, take it. You can. So I'm like, what can I do with my two testes?
That's amazing.
Let's see what I'm going to do. So I'm just gonna do that, and it's something that it's always toyed around in my mind. Like I never thought I would be in the position where I could ever compete, period, or even compete against guys who are not natural. So for me, it's like, I love the challenge, and it's fun. Like it's not like I care that much about being a pro. It's just, this is fun. It's a nice competition. I had the opportunity and the privilege too. So, and also for me, I think I also want to see what natural bodybuilding looks like next to enhanced bodybuilding. Because I feel like sometimes there's this belief in natural bodybuilding. They're like, natural bodybuilding, you can't reach a high level, you can't compete with the big boys, you can't get your IFBB pro card naturally. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Yeah, let's see if I can. I like challenges. So there I am. Yeah.
Well, I think I was discussing this with Matthew. I don't remember who I was discussing with this, but I find like what you get between the natural and enhanced people, natural comes in like more condition, unless that enhanced individual is like really pushing diuretics and everything. Yeah. But the enhanced has the size.
That's the thing. Yeah.
That's where they get to you. And I guess I don't know a lot about it. I'm starting to know more because I keep bringing on guests that are competing and everything. So I'm starting to learn a lot. But like when it comes down to the judges, I know when you talk about, let's talk like really, really high.
Yeah.
They want those mass monsters.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
That's what brings in the money.
Yeah.
That's what brings in the people to come watch. Yeah. And so like, I feel like from what I've seen, you can go really well naturally up until like Olympia or something.
Oh, and I don't even know if you can do that well up until Olympia. I feel like you can get your pro card natural.
Yeah.
But then once you start competing with the pros, it's a different ball game. It's kind of like, how do I put it this way? It's kind of like bringing a Mustang to like, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini Super Show. Like a Mustang is an incredible car. Don't get me wrong. It's a beautiful car. It'll destroy a lot of cars on the road. But then you're competing against Lamborghinis and Ferraris. Like it's, so it's one of those, you'll look nice when you're just sitting there. But once you're at the race line and it's go time, you're going to be in the dust. So it's one of those, I mean, I don't expect to be like, top or make it to the Olympia. I just want to know, can I get my IFBB pro card naturally? Mm-hmm. Like, because there's a lot of natural competitors or non-competitors who think you cannot make it to the IFBB. You cannot make it, you cannot do well in a national show. Like, so a national show in the NPC or national show in the CPA without using performance enhancement drugs. And I don't think so. I think, you know what, you can't go as high as possible. Well, like you can get your IFBB Pro card natural, but for you to compete with them in the Olympia, ooh, that's a different ball game. Like you would not do well, and that's just the fact. But at least, you know, can you push your body naturally and do the best, and at least look like, you know, some of those guys. When I say some of those guys, look like some of those guys. Maybe not as big, but like as refined and have a beautiful physique. And I believe, yes. And I think that's just sort of where I'm at. And yeah, it's actually funny you were talking about the size factor, because that's definitely true. When you're an enhanced athlete, you can go as big as possible. You're a freak, you know, it's different. But with me, the thing where I think I have an opportunity, or where I'm playing with my strengths, is my aesthetics. When I first started working out, my main goal was and is always aesthetics. And I mean, it kind of goes to show. So because I focus more on aesthetics, and aesthetics and symmetry, I'm not the biggest guy, but I don't have to be the biggest guy. Because of my shape, my proportions, I look bigger than I am. Like a lot of you know, enhanced guys, they think I'm like over 200 pounds, around 200 pounds.
Yeah.
No, I'm not 200 pounds. I'm like, if I'm 190 right now, that's a very good job. I am not 190 pounds right now, but I don't look 190. I look a lot bigger. So
yeah,
I want to use that to my advantage.
Well, especially when you have your shirt off, right?
Yeah, I know. I can't see.
Yeah, right. Like people, it's interesting because when I had Jordan here on Tuesday, she was talking, and I said, you have to let me put up a picture of you on stage, because right now you're just in a hoodie and pair of sweats. Like people don't really know kind of where you're coming from, but yet she's like got pretty good size and everything. So, because like that is once again too. You talk about like posing, for example. Like you can take a guy that looks 190, and as soon as he starts posing, he looks 220.
Yep. That's it.
And so, but you stay pretty good shape year round, don't you?
Yeah, it's a lifestyle for me. Like, I honestly, I started working out just for myself, just because, I mean, it's one of those, I wanted to do track and field initially when I first started lifting weights. So I just wanted to look like a sprinter. Like I was 127 pounds soaking wet, no muscle.
Really?
Oh yeah, 127 pounds soaking wet, no muscle. And when I looked at most sprinters are jacked. So when I was 14, I looked at Donovan Bailey, and I'm like, this guy's jacked. He's got arms, delts, legs. Like, I don't look anything like a sprinter. So I'm on the track and field team. Oh, you do long distance? You doing long distance? I'm like, I'm a sprinter.
You're a marathon runner?
Yeah, but I look at the marathon runner, and I hated that. So for me, I'm like, okay, you know what? I got to put on muscle. So I just wanted to be 145 pounds, because I figured if I put on, you know, almost 20 pounds, I'd have some muscle, especially if it was lean tissue. So, I put on the 20, I think by the time I finished high school, it was around 145. So I was around 145.
Oh, you're 127.
Yeah, I was 100,
okay. I thought you meant when you were older.
Oh, no, I mean, like I was 145. So even after high school, I was 145 pounds.
Yeah, okay.
So I was still small, but I wasn't skinny anymore. And then I tore my knee right after high school. So I wasn't able to. Yeah, well, no, I was actually playing basketball. So I was playing pickup game basketball, tore my knee. So I wasn't able to compete as a track and field athlete. I wanted to get a scholarship, run track and field for the UFC, the Dinos, but that didn't happen once I tore my knee. So I just kind of continued lifting weights, because I was like, you know, if I can't run, at least I can lift weights. It's a nice way to stay in shape. And that's it. So it's a lifestyle for me. Like I'm not trying to get big. I'm not trying to be anything. I just want to be in shape, and that's it. So that's why I look like that all the time, because that was sort of like I guess that was my foundation. I just wanted to be in shape, and running was the one thing I wanted to do before bodybuilding took over. So
and have you lived in Calgary your whole life?
No. I was born in Nigeria.
Okay.
Grew up in Botswana, and then I live in Canada. That's how I describe myself.
When did you move to Canada?
I moved here in 2004.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
33. Yeah, 33.
Oh, we're the same age.
Yeah.
Nice.
33. Yeah.
So you spent quite a bit of time over there then.
Yeah. So before I used to be half my life. So I came when I was 14. I'm 33 now. So I've spent most of my life here. Yeah, most of my life.
Okay.
Here, yeah.
Oh, I thought for some reason you spent most of your I thought you were like still young when you moved to Canada. I thought that's
14 is young.
Well, no, I meant younger than that. I guess 14 is young, but
no. I left Nigeria when I was 6 years old. So I was born in Nigeria. I left Nigeria when I was 6. Then I went to Botswana, and I was in Botswana up until we left in February 2004. And then then in February 2004, came here to Canada. We were up north in Fort McMurray. And then, it's actually not bad. Like, it's not bad. I mean, I think I'm sort of happy I was there before I came to Calgary.
Yeah.
That would have been a little too big for me. And like Calgary is huge compared to Fort McMurray.
Yeah.
So like getting comfortable with Fort McMurray and then coming here to Calgary was like, oh, a nice transition. So now I like it. Yeah.
So why the move to Canada?
That's a very good question. I don't know if I have the answer for that. I'd like to think I helped influence my parents. I don't know. I remember when we were younger, my parents wanted to move because we were getting to the point where we were going to be starting high school soon. And in Botswana, there was only 2 major universities and they didn't offer a lot of programs. So the option for us being Nigerian immigrants would have been, okay, we'd either have to go to school in South Africa or some other country with universities that have more courses. So my parents were thinking, if these kids are going to have to move and leave us anyways, they're going to have to go, either South Africa or like Zimbabwe or somewhere else. That means there's going to be a transition or change. So they were looking at, I guess setting us up well for the future. And, I think they were thinking of UK, the US, a bunch of different countries. And I remember thinking, well, what about Canada? Like, I never hear anything bad come out of Canada. It's a pretty peaceful country. I know it's cold, but like, what about Canada? And then kind of played around my parents' mind. My dad came here twice before we eventually moved here. And so he works as a pharmacist. So he was able to sort of get a position or a job, get a job as an intern before he did his examinations and passed all that.
Oh, because I guess the transfer.
Yeah,
okay.
So that was a little bit unfortunate. So he came here when he got things ready, like the internship, all that stuff. Then we all moved here. So we came here basically just for our education, because I'd say my parents definitely downgraded a little bit when they moved here, because we were, we'll say, upper middle class back home.
Okay.
And then we came here and we were just like normal middle class or lower middle class. I don't know, just normal middle class. Yeah. So we were like pretty well off, like back in Botswana. And then we sort of downgraded a little bit. My dad was a manager of a pharmaceutical company. So going from the manager of a pharmaceutical company to being an intern, huge transition for them. Huge transition.
Well, what were you saying before we started? Kids.
Yeah, kids. So yeah, they did that for us. Yeah. And so that's why we came here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What was it like a big cultural shock, or was it?
Oh, it was everything shock. Everything shock. Like, because I mean, in Botswana, I went to an international school. So I'll say it was kind of like a melting pot. So I'm used to seeing, kids from different nationalities else. So there were Dutch kids in my school, there were Indian kids, there were Chinese kids, there was everybody in my school, right? So that's sort of what I grew up with. And then, then there was the weather. Botswana gets as hot as like plus 41 degrees in the summer, right? And winter for us is like 18 degrees. People are wearing parkers. It's so cold. No, honestly, like it's like 10 degrees. I remember there was one time it went to like 7 degrees, man. Cattle died. People went to the hospital. People got sick. People died. Pneumonia, all because it doesn't get 18 degrees is cold for us. It went to 7 degrees, man. People got sick. Animals died because they're not used to that kind of cold.
That's insane.
I know it's weird because 7 degrees and we're like, yeah,
right. So like we're wishing for that today. And
so that's what I came. So I remember, I think the day before we left Canada, I think it went to like plus 41. Like a couple weeks before, I'd left a comb in the back of my mom's car in the back seat, and like next day the teeth had fused. It was melted. It got so hot in the car, the teeth had fused. So like that's how hot it was in Botswana. You don't leave stuff. You don't leave stuff in the car, because if you do, it's hot. Like it's very hot. So you can cook eggs out. Like literally can cook eggs on your window shield. It's that hot. So I went from plus 41 to.
And you were in February, you said?
Yeah. So when it came here, it was like minus 32. It was minus 32, minus 36. I remember being in the Edmonton airport and like I'm looking outside and it's like, oh, it's minus 32 outside. And it's not comprehending. Because
have you watched Cool Runnings?
Dude, yes, I have.
Is that what it would like to put on like 70?
And honestly, I don't know how many layers I had, but it didn't do anything because, I mean, I probably had like 4 or 5 layers. I had like, zip up jacket. We had a jacket from Botswana. No, we had to get jackets from Canada because the jackets from Botswana, I don't know if they were not warm enough or whatever, but you come here and it's minus 32. I remember stepping outside in the cold and I had never felt cold in like my bones and my blood. Like I felt the cold inside of me, even though you were all layered up. So yeah, I remember thinking like, what am I doing in this country? This is crazy. This is bananas. And now it's like, it's minus 10 and I'll walk outside with just like, flip flops. I'll go outside and like no jacket and I'll go throw the garbage out and I'm fine. But when I first came here, plus 41, -32, that was two different stories. So like the temperature was a huge shock for me, but I got over it.
Yeah. How long did it take to adjust?
Couple months, man. Couple months, I'd say. Yeah, because when I went to high school, we had to walk home. So because we didn't know how to take transit, and like if you took transit, it would have been like a 5-minute bus ride. But we would walk 25 minutes. So my brother and I would walk 25 minutes home. We didn't, because we didn't know how to take transit, right? So we'd walk 25 minutes home and it would be like -30 something in Fort McMurray. So we had to get used to the cold pretty quickly because, we walked like 5 days a week. So we went to school like Monday to Friday, right? So we got pretty used to it. When the summer came, we got used to the summer. So when the second winter came, or I guess our first introduction to winter, because we came in February. So by the time maybe September, October rolled by, we were a little bit more prepared for it. We actually had winter jackets from here. So like it was a lot different. Yeah, it was a lot different. Yeah.
So this is going to show my extreme lack of education in the world. What's the language spoken there?
In Botswana? Setswana. So Botswana is a country. They speak Setswana.
So was that a big adjustment, or?
So I didn't actually speak Setswana because I went to an international school. So like we had to speak English all the time in school. The only time you could speak a different language was when you were taking a class like that. So you couldn't speak. They wouldn't permit you to speak your language unless you were taking. So I'm Nigerian. I speak Yoruba. So if I was speaking Yoruba, I could get a detention unless I was taking Yoruba class. If I was French and I was speaking French, I could get detention unless I was speaking French. So that's just sort of how it was in the school. They really wanted us to work on, our grammar and just our English, and everybody spoke English very well. That's when I came here, people were like, "Oh, you speak English very well." It's like, yeah, because I went to a private school and I speak better English than you.
Yeah,
so,
right.
People are like, "Oh, you African? How come you speak English?" Because I speak English. Sort of those.
Were you put in the international school then because like your parents knew you were going to be coming to Canada, or is it why the international school?
I have no idea, man. I think my parents just wanted the best for us. So
so it is one of the better schools then when you look at it that way.
Because we did go to a public school the couple of weeks, I think, when we were in Botswana. I don't remember it very well. It's very, 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 very faint in my memory. But we did go to a public school for a little bit. Then my mom got a job teaching. So my mom was a teacher then. So she was teaching at a private school. And then, so I think, once she got the job, a couple weeks later, we went to that same school. Okay. It was, the school fees then were a lot, but I think it was obviously worth it. Otherwise my parents wouldn't have done it. So I think they just wanted the best for us. And, in hindsight, it was a good thing because when we came, it was Americans owned it. So when we came from that school to here, transitioning was not a big adjustment at all. Like the science I was doing in Botswana was very similar to the science here. Like I was smoking kids in science class. Like it's, and I just came. So people are like, "Oh, you're so smart. You're so smart." It's like, no, this is just the same stuff you're doing back home. Same thing.
Yeah, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
So was it a private school when you came to Canada, or was it, you went public?
Yeah, I went public school. So that was weird for me. I'll say that was definitely a culture shock for me, going from, because I went to private school for like almost all my life. I think even in Nigeria, I went to private school. So going from private school to like public school, and in Botswana, even in public schools, you wore uniforms. They had uniforms. Private school, we had nicer uniforms. So the private school I went to, you had to wear black shoes, gray socks, gray pants. If you're a girl, a gray skirt. You wore a blue shirt with a red tie. You wore a red vest and a navy blue blazer. So like we were like all, you know when you see those rich kids are like, that's how we dress. So that's the school I went to. Then coming from that to here, and I saw kids wear pajamas in school. Man, that messed me up because I'm like, why? And for me, we had to wear like suits more or less. Don't come in wearing blazers. Like even the hats had to be like approved. So you had to wear like special face caps, with like the school logo on it, because you couldn't just wear a face cap. So I came from that private school to like I come here and people are wearing like pajama pants in school, and I'm like, did your parents let you leave
in the halls and everything?
Did your parents let you leave? And like, it's so weird. For me, it was weird, the no uniform thing. I mean, I thought it was cool, but then for me, it was just a shock. People wearing sweatpants, because I'm like, isn't there any guidelines or like around uniforms? So that was huge for me, man. Like, but also liked it because I got to express myself and my individuality, and I think that's sort of how I liked it. I mean, there's some pros and cons, because when you're able to express your individuality, it's good. In a way, I'll say the con part is then there's some, we'll say hierarchy, because some kids will wear different brands or whatever. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, my shoes are better than your shoes, my shirt's better than your shirt, versus when we would just wear uniforms, it was, you're all the same.
Yeah.
It's, we all wore the same uniform. I mean, your shoes might be different, but like they had to be black. So like, it's not like, and they had to be black Oxford shoes. So not even sneakers. So like you can wear your sneakers during phys ed. So I'd say there's some pros to cons to switching from private to public school, but I'd say though, for me, definitely more pros. Like a little bit more pros. It was for me the first time where I felt like I could start expressing my own individuality, which is something I never really felt like I had the privilege to. Coming from, so I'm Nigerian, we have we'll say cultural background. So it's kind of, there's a way they expect you to do things, or you have to do things this way, say things this way, so it's almost like I had been groomed to do things a certain way, because, that's just a culture. So, going from, I have to do things a certain way to, oh yeah, you can wear what you want. I was like, whoa, okay, I can wear what I want. Like, that's dope. I can choose the classes I want. Are you kidding me? So for me, that was huge. So I kind of like that. And that's when, the self-expression started coming out for me, because before that, I don't know if I'd say I had a lot of self-expression, or the ability to express
like
myself.
The freedom.
Yeah. I mean, I also left when I was 14. So who knows? Maybe it could have changed when I was older. But yeah.
Have you been back?
Ooh, have I been back? No, I haven't been back to Botswana or Nigeria since I left here. Yeah.
So there's no family or anything over there?
No, I still have family there. But when I got married back in 2018, a lot of them came here for the wedding. Okay. So it's kind of like a big reunion. I was hoping maybe after university I would go visit, but then ended up working, traveling, meeting my wife. So like that didn't really happen. I just kind of forgot it. So
yeah. So I want to ask again about like when you moved, what was it like with like making friends and everything? Especially at that age, because kids are mean.
Oh, kids are still mean, man. Kids are still mean. I mean, so I remember, like, I'll just the thing that I remember about, well, not so much making friends. Before I talk about making friends, I remember one of the questions, two questions. Somebody asked me, like, do they have a fridge in Botswana? And like, this is a girl's asking me in science class. It's like, girl, my grades are better than yours. And it's like, my grades are better than you. How can you ask such an unintelligent question? Like,
that's your opportunity to mess with them, though.
So I'm just kind of thinking. So my question with her was like, do you think that at the airport they kind of had this model of a house in there? And they're like, hey, this is a house. These are appliances. This is a fridge. This is how you use a fridge. This is a microwave. Then she felt really dumb. Yeah. So like that's what. Then the second thing I remember was somebody asked, did you live in trees back home? And I'm like,
oh my goodness.
So I mean, this was like my first or second week in school, man. So that was for me sort of like we'll say my earliest experience, that I'm like, man, is this the country I'm in? Like, people ask if I live in trees, they ask me if I have a fridge, like, so I didn't know if I was gonna be able to make friends, but I made my first friend when I joined the track and field team. His name was David Hurley. Very, very nice guy. I believe he's still I think he's a teacher now. But anyways, I haven't really kept in contact with him. But he was my very first friend, and I made and I became friends with him through track and field. And coincidentally, a lot of the friends I have made have been either through health, through my involvement with fitness, and I'll say mostly fitness, because some of the people that I met in class or whatever, I never really got along with. And I found that's sort of my story when it comes to making friends, because, I always struggled to make friends. I always felt like I didn't really fit in. I was Nigerian, grew up in Botswana. So, went to an international school. I was the runt for the most part in the class. So I was one of like the smallest kids. And I was also, everybody knew my mom was a teacher. My mom was pretty notorious in the school. So I think because people knew my mom was a teacher, sometimes some of the kids didn't want me to be involved or whatever, because they thought I'd snitch on them. They just thought like a teacher's pet. Yeah, that type of thing. So they kind of literally guys just like excluded me, because like, oh yeah, your mom's a teacher, we don't want you. You're gonna tell on us. I'm like, I didn't even know what they were doing. I just was almost always excluded. And then also because I was a short kid as well too, I used to sit kind of more in the front of the class. And like, even till today, I'm still one of those people who when a teacher asks a question and I know the answer, I'll wait to see somebody answers, and if they don't, then I'll raise up my hand. So I just don't like the awkward silence. So as a child, I used to do that. Like the teacher will ask a question, everybody's on, I'll raise up my hand, answer. So myself and like maybe the other, we'll call them nerds or whatever, were the ones who'd answer the question. So like that really helped with the isolation. So like other boys or other kids were just like, he's a teacher's pet, smarty pants. So they kind of just like pushed me away. So honestly, I didn't have a lot of friends back home in Botswana. And even when I came here, so now I'm this immigrant kid, I have an accent or whatever. I'm like how many black kids were there in my high school in Fort McMurray? The first high school I went to, I think there was like 3 of us. So like,
Fort McMurray, really?
Well, so the 3 high schools in Fort McMurray, and the high school that I went to, Composite High School, there was myself, there was my brother, there was Saeed, there was Wes, and so there's 4 black guys.
Okay.
And then Saeed's sister was there, and there was some like half black chicks. So we'll say there was like 5.5 black people in the whole high school.
Really?
And like, and my brother and I were immigrants, so like we looked different, sounded different. So we really didn't fit in, and it's one of those, it was hard for me to make friends because in order for you to make friends, there needs to be more similarities, and there just seem to be more differences between me and other people. So when I joined the track and field team, that was like, the first similarities. Like, this guy likes sports, or he can run. So David and I kind of hit it off. Very, very nice guy. And then I went to a different high school for grade 11. So when I first came here, I was in grade 10. So I went to a different high school in grade 11, Westwood Community High School. That's where I graduated. I joined the track team as well there too. I tried out for the basketball team. So I made some friends when I tried out for the basketball team. Didn't stick on the basketball team. Running was more my thing. I think I actually ended up making the reserve. So I actually didn't make the main team. I was on the reserve. So I'm like, well, screw this. I don't want to be on the reserve. But I met some people just through the tryouts as well too. And then also I was working out as well too at that point because I didn't have any friends. So go figure. I was like, just go work out. So I made some friends in the gym as well too. Two guys, Sangram and Travis. I think Travis lives in Calgary now. I don't know about Sangram, but I think he's in Edmonton. But Sangram and Travis ended up making friends with them as well too because they were in the gym, so we'd see each other. They were in my English class, so slowly I started making friends, but it was mostly through my involvement in sports. And I think that's it. People thought I was cool because this guy's really fast. So that's sort of it. And even now, I feel like a lot of my friends are in the fitness industry or just somehow related to fitness. So that's how I made most of my friends. If I'd never been involved in fitness, I probably wouldn't have any friends. I don't know if I'd have any friends, man. Yeah. Oh, dude, because I never really fit in. Yeah. I never really fit in. Like even now in the fitness industry, if I still don't really fit in. Like really? I don't fit in. Like most people look at me and say I'm a bodybuilder. But I'm like, I only started considering myself a bodybuilder last year. Before then, if you talk to me, I'm like, I'm not a bodybuilder. I compete in bodybuilding. I'm not a bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. And I say that because a lot of bodybuilders, I mean, not knocking on bodybuilders, but there's a way bodybuilders think, behave, whatever. Like it's all, it's bodybuilders. I don't know how to say it. And I mean, not every bodybuilder is like that.
Chicken and rice mentality.
Versus for me, I think different, man. I like freedom a little bit. Even with some bodybuilding principles I disagree with. Mm-hmm. I think for myself, I don't train like a bodybuilder. I know I have the muscle, I look like it, but I won't train like a bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. I only train like a bodybuilder when I have to, when I'm prepping. So I think very different. I don't see myself as a bodybuilder. I see myself as an athlete. And I mean, some people say bodybuilders are athletes. Bodybuilders are just... It's just bodybuilding is like a glorified beauty pageants. Like flexing your muscles is not anything athletic. I think when you're training in the gym, that's when you're an athlete. But when you're on stage, not really an athlete. They're kind of just judging you based on your looks. So I never really saw myself as a bodybuilder. So I didn't really feel like I fit in with the bodybuilding because, to be honest, bodybuilding I think is weird. I think it's such a weird thing. So like, I didn't really like fit. I just like the posing aspect. And I think when I was 14, when I first started working out, I was 127 pounds. So I never thought I would have the physique that I have right now. And I never thought I'd even be able to compete because I'd never be this big or whatever. So like now that I sort of have this physique, the reason why I compete is like, this is something 14-year-old me would have loved to do. So if as a 14-year-old, I'd look at guys in the magazines like, man, this is incredible. These guys look amazing. Like, oh, that would be amazing if I could do that. But I never thought that I could do it or saw myself doing it. But now that I have the physique, now that I have the opportunity, I'm like, why not? Why not do it? Why not compete? So I compete because it's something I feel like I have the opportunity to do. So why not take it? At some point I'm going to pass away. I want to be old and I don't want to be like, man, what if I never competed? So that's honestly why I compete. I love posing. I think it's an art form. It's a way of expressing myself actually too. So that's honestly, I think, part of my love for bodybuilding. It's like the posing aspect, the way of expressing myself, my artistry, and just showing off my physique. But besides that, don't really care much about bodybuilding. I have to be honest.
Well, I think how I look at bodybuilding is I understand what you're saying. Like yeah, we don't want to like take anything away from anyone, like not saying they're athletes. I feel like it's more like a chess game.
It is.
Because, and like I was saying this to Jordan, because Jordan, like what she's doing is she's trying to change perspective on eating.
Yeah.
And I'm like, like most people in order to do bodybuilding have to be a little bit crazy.
You have to 100%.
To like put yourself through that.
100%.
And so that's why I say it's like a chess game, because you got to make the right moves so you can stay in that game and get to that, knocking the house chess work queen over again. Knocking, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I think. It's like, obviously, yeah, they work hard and everything, but it's like there's so much that goes into it on the mind aspect to keep your sanity and compete. And that's how I look at bodybuilding.
Funny enough, I think that's another aspect that I like about the bodybuilding thing, the mindset or the mind part, because for me, I'm a deep guy, think a lot. And I'm kind of, one of the things I love is just mindset. So I love the brain, the mind, how it works, how you can, change your perspective, how you can transform your life, and, how you can just overcoming tough things. And when I go through a bodybuilding prep, your mind plays a lot of tricks on you. Oh, you know what? Stop doing this. You cheat on your food, or, why even doing this? There's so many things that come to play. And for me, each prep I've done, I've always come out with a sharper mind, a clearer mind. And like, I get to learn a little bit more about myself, and I get to see how weak I am or how strong I am. So it's like, oh man, I'm really struggling with this. Okay, like let's dial it down. Like let's work on this. And I see it as more of a personal development or self-improvement, because I never got in it just to, get a trophy, to get whatever prize, IFBB Pro, whatever. No. I honestly just loved posing and like thought, I'm just doing it because I had the opportunity to, but I love the mental aspect. Like you said, it's such a game. And like, if you play it well, you like playing games, and it's like, you just get better at it. It's like, oh, okay, I figured out a strategy. And that's how I see bodybuilding. I learned how to take control of my body, take control of my mind, take control of my health. And like, I don't track macros a lot when I say I don't do things like other bodybuilders, I really don't. Why? Because each prep, I've learned something about myself. I've learned something about my body, or something about fitness. And that's what I take from bodybuilding. It's literally the prep, the mental stuff, the stuff I'm overcoming, like time management. I still got to get my workouts in, and still get my meals in, and still take care of my clients, and still do this. You have to get good at time management. I have to get good at stress management as well too, because if your cortisol levels go too high, it messes up with your physique. For some people, when they're stressed out, they want to binge eat. For some people, they don't want to eat. So I have to make sure that I'm managing stress as well too. So that's one of the things. So it's one of those when like right now, as I'm in prep, I'm like, okay, I'm managing stress pretty well. I'm eating pretty well. So I feel like I have a very good handle on things. But ask me in June. I'm always saying like, oh no, Curtis, I'm losing my mind. But yeah, right now it's still kind of like in the beginning, and I love it, man. I love all the stuff that I'm kind of seeing and experiencing and overcoming, and yeah.
So what was the year that you got in that you're like, okay, I'm going to step on stage? What year was your first prep?
Oh man, it was 2013. It was after a breakup.
Was it?
Yeah, after a breakup. A lot of
that what fueled it?
No, actually. So it was this thing where I'd been thinking about it for some time. Kind of like, should I do bodybuilding? Because I actually wanted to do fitness modeling, because there was a part of me that wanted to do some modeling. I actually tried auditioned for, was it Numa Models? Numa Models, I think. I tried. I think it was a Numa. It was a while. I was 20. The guy came and was like, "You have got a nice body. You got the look, but you're too short." And I was like, "Ooh, okay, that's fine. I'm short." But I was like, you know what? I might be short for like mainstream modeling, but like fitness, the guys who are 5'7", they do fitness modeling. So I was thinking maybe I should try fitness modeling. And in my mind, then I thought, if I compete, I've done a show, there'll be somebody out there in the audience, like sponsorship or something, like, oh, I want that guy to like, to shoot and promote my product. So that's sort of what I was doing, or what I was thinking. I thought, if I do this, it'll be a stepping stone into fitness. I'll know what it's like to get in shape, to get shredded. So if I have to get shredded for a photo shoot, I know how to do it. And also, like, I can tell people I've competed before, so it's like brands will be able to sort of endorse me and sponsor me. That's what I was thinking back then. And this was in 2013. And I remember I was telling my girl at the point, well, the girl I was dating then, that I wanted to compete, and I felt like I couldn't do it without her. I wasn't sure if I really wanted to compete. It was just this, I'm like, oh, I just wanted to be a fitness model and be popular and all these things. So like that was sort of my end result. But I wasn't sure if I really wanted to do it. It was just kind of, is this the thing? This is the way I have to do it to get what I want. Then, so she was like, oh, you should go ahead and do it, because she wanted me to be popular, all that stuff. Go figure. So then after you broke up, a part of me was like, man, I told this girl that like, I want to compete. If I don't do it, she's going to, like, we're broken up, but I'm like, you know what? She still has me on social media. So I'm like, oh, well, she's creeping me. I don't know. I don't have it on my social media, but I knew she could see. So I was like, oh man, I don't want her to like check my social media, because she knew the show I wanted to do. So I didn't want it to be like, oh, you know what? He's a loser. I knew he was going to compete. He can't do anything without me. He needs me. Because that was the thought that I had back then.
Yeah.
So like, dude, I didn't want to do the show, but I did it because I'm like, no, I don't need her. I can do this by myself. Like, so it wasn't even about the fitness modeling at that point. I'd forgotten about that, because man, my heart was broken, shattered into a million pieces. Yeah. But like, I was like, I got my integrity. I don't need this girl. I can do this by myself. So I went and competed because I just wanted to show myself and her that like, I don't need you. Yeah. And I went and did it. And I was like, I don't need you. I'm good by myself. And that was also the year I shaved my head off too. So it was like, I just did completely different things. I just did something for myself, shaved my head, competed and just did something for myself because I wanted to, you know? So, and and then that's when I realized, okay, you know what? I'm actually quite tough. Like, I did a prep by myself. Nobody, like, I don't think I told only two of my friends. I only told two of my friends. I didn't, like, my parents weren't there to support me. Nobody was there, actually. It was just one of those things I just wanted to do just for my own peace of mind to do it. And turned out I actually would like the sport. Like, I like the challenge. And I mean, it's not even like the stage and everything. It was just like, whoa, the journey that I went through, like the discipline, the focus, you know, the stuff I learned about myself, you know, because I guess for me, and I guess this is just a little like I'm off topic, but back then I didn't know that I had issues with my emotions. Like I wasn't very good at my emotions. Something girls would always tell
expressing?
me. Girls always say, I don't know how you feel about me. Like that was a constant thing. Girl, oh, you never talk about your feelings. I don't know how you feel about I didn't know how to talk about my feelings. I didn't express I sucked at express voice in them out. Like saying, oh, I like you, I care about you. Like I just felt things and I'm like, okay, I feel things, but I didn't know how to like process it or like talk about it. But during that first prep in 2013, I felt a lot of things. And you know, it was one of those, I started being able to really, I guess for me, understand my feelings, because not even expressing them because there was nobody to express it to or to tell, but it's like, oh, so this is what pain feels like. Okay, this is what hurt feels like, because I was so heartbroken. And like, you know, I'm heartbroken, I'm starving, but it's like, I'm not feeling the starvation from, you know, being in the deficit. I'm feeling the heartbreak. And it's like, this is what heartbreak feels like. Because the other times I'd been heartbroken or dumped, I just got angry. I was just angry. So I never really allowed myself to feel the pain or the hurt or the loss. I just felt anger. And that was almost always the thing in my life. Anger. So for the first time in my life, I'm like, I'm feeling pain. I'm feeling loss. I'm feeling, you know, like aloneness, separation. My siblings left me and I'm feeling all these things. And while it was sad, for me, it was a beautiful thing, because for the first time in my life, I experienced and felt pain and sadness. And it was a beautiful thing because it wasn't accompanied by anger. Yeah. Almost always it was like anger. Like if I felt sad, I'd be like, man, stop being a bitch. Why are you mad? Like, come on, get over it. And then I'd be angry. Like, oh, why are you sad? And like, I'd be mad at myself for being sad. I never allowed myself to feel pain or sadness and hurt. And at 23 years old, I felt all these things and it felt great. And like, you know, I felt hunger, I felt tiredness, I felt everything. And it was good to feel my emotions, to own them. And that was sort of it for me. So like when I say it was the personal development side and it was the mental side, like that's really what I like about the preps. They push you. And the thing too is like when you also lose as well too, or you don't place or whatever the case might be, you also have to process those feelings. So I'll give you an example. Like in 2021, at the WMBF show in October, I didn't get the placement that I liked. I won my division, don't get me wrong. I still believe the pro card was mine, but hey, you know, the judges saw it otherwise, and that's okay.
Did they say why?
Oh yeah, but I don't even want to get into that. Because, and the reason why is, well, the judges said why, but then when I saw like nothing, that show just didn't make sense in a way, because like the judges were like, well, you weren't conditioned enough. Okay, so they said I wasn't conditioned enough. Then when I saw the pros in the evening, it's like I was just as conditioned as the pros, or the guy who got first, I probably could have had him that day.
Yeah.
And that's actually what it's like, so the guy who beat me and came, like, they gave the pro card to, he didn't, I think he came third. So it's like, if he beat me, and the reason why he beat me was because of conditioning, like the only conditioning, not size, because in bodybuilding, the size, symmetry, conditioning. Mm-hmm. He only beat me by one thing, one criteria. I had him on the other two.
Yeah.
So when he went to the evening show and he placed, he should have had the show, because if they were judging the same way they judge in the morning, you should have had the whole show. But he placed third, and I'm like, oh.
You still got a pro card?
Yeah, I think
top 3, or how does that work?
No, so the way the pro card was is like the winner of each division was so like, you know, lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, or whatever, they compete against each other. So they have a pose that,
okay.
Then whoever comes out on top gets a pro card. That should have been me. Yeah. And I say that should have been, I'm still talking confidently or whatever. The people's champ, and I say I'm the people's champ because everybody in the stage was like shocked. They were like, what the, they didn't know what's going on. Even I'm like, I thought I knew bodybuilding. Went to go talk with the judges after. Like, hey judges, I thought those 3 things you guys look for, like I had him in stage presence, I had him in everything else except conditioning. They're like, oh yeah, you know, so the judge is actually very rude to me and very disrespectful to me. Like, yeah, very condescending. Basically said I was too fat. It's like, oh yeah, you'll see. Oh yeah, you'll see in the evening when these guys come on, you'll see. Basically saying I wasn't pro material, pro. Yeah, and I'm like, dude, like, anyways, my wife was the one talking to the judges. She was so pissed. Like, you know, my wife, she doesn't get involved. She was so pissed, she walked away.
Really?
Yeah. Oh no, because she was like, I can't, because she saw how much work I put in.
Yeah.
And to hear him sort of like talk, like honestly, the way he talked to me, it was very rude and condescending. Like I would not talk to an athlete like that.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing too is I remember being like, yo, you know, if you talk to a female athlete like that, there could have been because women are very sensitive. And like, you know, the thing too is when you're that depleted, you're very self-conscious in your head a lot. Now to go and say I'm fat,
yeah,
bruh, are you kidding me, man? Like go say that to a girl and see how she feels. Yeah. See how if you don't mess up with her, you know, body dysmorphia or self-image and everything. So like he said that to me, but hey, that's okay. Like I didn't take it personal, but I was like, let me just watch what happens in the evening. So I saw what happened in the evening and I laughed it off or whatever, because I had to laugh it off because it's a joke. So, but even then I learned something. I'm like, you know what? I'm really not attached to titles. I'm really not attached to like, you know, this thing, a pro card. Yeah, I wanted to win the pro card. I thought it was mine, but in the end, I realized, you know what? I'm still okay not having a pro card. Like, I don't need a pro card. It's something nice to have, but I don't need it. And like that prep too. So even how I handled that loss, it let me know that, you know what? I'm okay with losses now. I'm okay with taking things, because say if that had happened in 2017, oh man, I would have been like, I don't know how I would have been. Like, I would have been feeling bad about myself. I don't know. I really don't know how it would have been. But when it happened, I just laughed it off. I was like, these guys are jokers. So, yeah. And that's sort of it. So that's how I see bodybuilding. I see it more as like a way for me to get better at being me. Like, you know,
Was 2021, was that COVID?
Yeah, it was after COVID. So it was the first show that the WNB, because I don't think they had any shows in 2020. Show in 2021. Yeah. And that was it.
So I'll give you an example, because like, so what you said there is like, you use the words like a guy works his butt off. And I see this a lot with women. Like a lot of women work really, really hard and then they won't place because they don't have, lip injections or breast implants or whatever. Right. Because I'm trying to, I think Leo said there wasn't much of this, but is there like politics and that stuff? Because an example of an old coach of mine, you would have to be like blind to not see that he should have got first place, but the guy that got first place was a competitor of Full Force who was sponsoring the show.
Yeah. So as soon as you said Full Force, I'm like, Full Force, Team Ignite. I'm guys, don't come after me. I'm just saying. Oh, I feel like I should have kept quiet, but that's what I haven't even competed with the CPA, but I've heard. And the thing is, if 4, 5, 10 people are saying the same thing, it can't be a lie.
Yeah.
Full Fitness Force, they have ties with the CPA or whatever. The athletes always place.
Yeah.
Team Ignite, I don't know. Some of the athletes place because the thing is, they're friends with the judges.
Yeah. Yep.
Another one is Ludacris, Team Ludacris.
Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
He gets a lot of girls and a lot of his girls place. I don't know Ludacris from anywhere. So like, guys, I'm just literally talking as somebody who people have told me things or have witnessed things.
Yeah.
There's politics involved. And I believe, so Leo's my friend. He's a president of the WNBF, but I don't know if I'll say there's politics with him. He didn't judge the show. So that's the thing. Let's just be clear about that. He didn't judge the show, but is there politics? Hell yes, I like to believe so. Why? And the thing is, and this is, I mean, I could be wrong, but I also feel like in some of the Canadian shows, I mean, so, and I think this is coming from after seeing people at Worlds. So at Worlds, because the judges are different, also it's people from different countries. When I saw people that were big, like natural athletes with muscle, I'm like, oh, people like this exist? And I say that because...
And they were natural?
They're all natural. Yeah. They're all natural. Because sometimes in the regional shows, the guys that I see placing the best are not the big guys. Mm-hmm. It's all the shredded guys.
Yeah.
Like, and there's not, and the thing too is, if you think of what you just said, like in the IFBBO versus natural versus enhanced, they want the big guys. So like the natural guys tend to be more conditioned. But sometimes if you're too conditioned as a natural athlete, you look like an emaciated dude. You look like a skinny dude with skinny dude with muscle, like strength. And the thing is, that's not bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is bodybuilding. You gotta have muscle. You gotta look jacked.
Yeah.
But then I found sometimes they don't like to, in some of the regional shows, they tend to favor just more conditioned guys. Like, oh yeah, you're very shredded. Let's give you the thing. Like, and I could be biased because I'm talking about my experience from 2021, but also in 2017, same thing happened. So there was a guy he was better conditioned than me. Was I bigger than him? Yes. So my symmetry was better than him? Yes. He was better conditioned than me? Okay, give it to him. But at least even in 2017, I was okay with that. Why? He at least had some size.
Yeah. Okay.
When I say had some size, like there wasn't that much of a size difference between both of us. In 2021, the guy who beat me was smaller than me. I was 50 pounds bigger than him.
What?
Even you think it's ridiculous. Imagine somebody 130 pounds beat me. Like I have the video, man. Like it's one of those. I have the video. The guy's shaking on stage. He's shaking on. How can you shake on stage and get your pro card? Like he can't even hold a pose. I'm like, dude, like I don't understand. Like you're talking about back double biceps. I eclipsed the guy. Yeah. You're talking about legs. His leg is like as big as my arm. How is somebody like that beating me? And the thing too, it's not like I'll show you the pictures. It's not like I was fat, but that's what the judges were saying. Mm-hmm. Now, my thing is, if a dude is 50 pounds smaller than me and he's shredded, he's supposed to be, if you're 130 pounds and you're fat, you don't belong on that stage. You better be peeled. Mm-hmm. I was 180 pounds shredded. Yeah. Not as shredded as him, but I should have won. I know I'm being objective, but also I have watched bodybuilding for years. I'm actually, good thing, this is a perfect time. I'm actually right now working towards being a WNBF judge.
Really?
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So hopefully I'm approved to be a judge soon. Why? So I can have some influence and actually start voting for people who I want to see win.
So what does that entail? How does someone get into that position?
Honestly, I have no idea. I just put in my application. Okay. And then I got contacted. I have to watch a show and I guess, learn how to judge. I guess they'll walk me through it. So I'll be I guess my first, we'll say coaching thing or learning thing would be in May. So there's the WNBF show in Edmonton that's happening in May. I don't know if you know Larry's prepping for a show, but the show that Larry's prepping for. Yes. So I'll be there as like maybe an interim judge. So like I'll be in the, so there'll be the judges and I'll be sitting behind them, maybe with them, and they'll be, walking me through how to judge, I guess, or how it goes. So like that'll be my first opportunity to sort of know how to judge. And I'm excited for that because I don't like what happened to me in 2021, and I would hate for that to happen to another athlete. So at least if my point can help, because there's like 5 or 7 judges or whatever. So if my vote, maybe there's, there were only 2 judges who thought I should have won. Then if there's a 3rd judge who could have been there to help, that would have been dope, So if I can be that judge to help, it's like, oh yeah, he's not super shredded, but this guy has the physique. Oh my God. So now I'm digressing a little bit again. It's like, this guy has the physique, this guy has a potential to actually do well. I had 2 athletes in the last show in October last year. One of them was more peeled than the other. The other one was bigger, had beautiful shape, beautiful proportions, beautiful symmetry, but he wasn't as lean. That guy placed higher than my other athlete who was more shredded.
Really?
Yeah, that's what messed up. Because the year before, I had shape, size, condition, I had everything, and I got knocked.
Really? Well, a client of mine, he went to stage.
Yeah.
And he placed like the guy that placed above him, if I remember correctly, didn't even have like visible abs.
Stuff.
But he was height and width on this guy. And so it's like the opposite spectrum of yours. Like they went like they declined the conditioning part or whatever. And I'm just like, and then I had another girl in that same show. And then she, like I said, she didn't have breast implants or anything. Ooh. And I was just like, that's when I really started disliking the stage, right?
Oh, no, honestly, there's always politics has been there for a while. Like, and it's actually funny you say that because, so like, even in that show, so in my class, like they were both my athletes, but I was kind of like, I would have had, like, if I was judging, I would have had number 4, number 3, and number 3, number 4. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love both of my athletes, but like, dude, it's the conditioning was missing for one of them. Yeah, the size and everything, but like, it has to be a nice balance. And the thing too is they were in the same weight class. So it's not even like one is a lot bigger than the other, like in the same weight class.
Yeah.
So like, if one is a little bit better, dude, like you have to, but dude, I was a lot bigger, it's just, I don't understand. And the thing too is how they judge in 2020, last year, if they had judged in 2021, I would have got my pro card. But honestly, I'm not upset. It's just, I'm just kind of telling my story and telling what happened and just showing that there's politics and there's also, we'll say objectivism or we'll say favoritism. Like some people don't care much about a large physique. And I'll say that because some judges don't care. They just, and
their mood.
Yeah. It's
their mood that
and
day.
Some judges too, I'll say some of them, they're not big.
Yeah.
Like they're not big. So like there's some judges where if they told me they compete, I'd be like, oh, it's not a knock on them, but it's like you compete. Oh, okay. Like, oh, you're a judge. Oh, okay. I mean, I guess if you can be a judge, you don't have to compete. But if you tell me a competitor, it's like, you're really a competitor? Okay, but that's it. So I think it's just, what do they like? Maybe they don't want somebody so big or so muscular, but it's like, but then don't judge men's bodybuilding. Yeah. Go judge classic physique. Go judge men's physique. Don't judge men's bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is about mass. So that's just, I was confused because the way they judge in 2022, way better. Like, it's one of those, I'm like, okay, I actually know who's going to win in this show. Like, I remember I was sitting with one of the guys. I was like, oh, I bet you that girl's going to win. And she won. That guy's going to win. And he won. The judging made sense in 2022. In 2021,
just all over the place. Did you have a coach or you just do it all yourself?
No, so I always did it by myself. Yeah. For this one, Leo's actually coaching me. He's my second eye. And part of the reason why I got a coach this year is because, I can coach myself. I'm actually doing my macros and everything. Leo's just my second eye because I'm so committed to getting my pro card. I guess I should backtrack a little. Every other time I competed, it was for fun. For fun. I knew I could pose. I knew I could win. So I just did it just for fun. It's not like, oh, I need to get this. But now I actually feel like, nah, man, like I want to get this pro card. I don't need it. I just want it. Like, it's kind of like, I know my potential. I know what I can do. I'm going to get it. Yeah. So now I'm actually taking it more serious. I decided to hire a coach because one of the things that messes things up and messes me up or that I stress about is my look. So when I'm my own coach, as I get leaner, I overthink.
You're always your worst critic too.
Because I'm like, oh, I'm too lean. Oh, I'm too fat. So sometimes I'll push the food up a little bit more, or I'll push the food down a little bit. So I'll overtrain or over diet or I'll overeat. And it's like, I don't want to have to do that as well too. Like, I just want to have to do what I need to do. And this time, just like, you know what, Leo, just be my eyes. Yeah. Let me know, like, am I doing good? And so far I'm doing good right now. Nice. So like, and that's the thing, but I'm not also when I get leaner and I start getting to the point where I want to start doubting myself and maybe I want to get leaner, Leo will be like, no. I know you want to get leaner, but you should probably, have a cheat meal here or something. Yeah. Because honestly, for me, sometimes, depending on how I feel or where I am, I might not want to, even though I need to. Like, I know I need to. If I was coaching another athlete, I'd be like, yeah, let's have a refeed today. Yeah. But for me, I'm like, nah. It's me. Like, it's me. And I don't want that this time because I actually want to win this time. If I don't win, if I don't win, and I know if I'd got a coach or somebody to look over me and just somebody to take that stress off, I would have won. I'd beat myself up. So I don't want to. So this time it's like, you know what? No, every other time I did it for fun. This time I'm not doing it for fun. So I want to win, and to make sure I win, I need to cover all bases, which means
Coaches need coaches.
I can't worry about my physique. So
yeah, especially in these extreme situations, whether it's like prepping for stage or like an extreme health complication, coaches need coaches.
And I'm doing 3 shows this year too. So
really?
I'm 3 shows. Yeah. So I'm like, I really don't need the stress. I don't want the stress. So that's why I got him.
So did you say you met your wife in 2018 or you got married in 2018?
Oh, we got married in 2018.
When did you meet her?
Met her in 2014.
Oh, so you've been together for quite a while then.
Yeah.
So because you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
How old is the youngest again? Like
youngest 5 months.
Yeah,
5
just
months.
born. Yeah. And your other one's 3?
Yeah, 3.
Yeah. And so you're doing 3 shows, 2 kids. Like how is all that affecting you? You got it locked down?
I mean, Leo competed at Worlds. Like he had a baby a month before, 2 months before I stepped on Worlds. And I remember thinking, you're crazy, man. How are you doing this? But now I'm like, oh, I'm doing it too. Fair. Yeah, it's honestly not that bad because the thing is, and I guess like, yeah, it's really not that bad. Once you're in the swing of like the parenting and all that stuff, like, you know, it's similar thing day to day. So, I think it's because I'm already I'm used to like the children or everything. Okay. I feel like as I get older, well, especially like the 5-month-old baby, as he gets older, he gets more independent. So it's kind of like, you know, there's less energy, or it's kind of just easier to parent, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
You can talk to them more when they're younger. They just demand so much attention and everything versus when they're older. Not as much. Like they still do, but it's kind of different. Like it's kind of like having a puppy versus having a dog. Like a puppy, you have to make sure they don't get into everything. You have to watch them because, you know, they can't protect themselves too. But when they're a dog, it's like, if you fall down the stairs, that's your problem. You know, you should have known, you know, so you don't have to worry about like so many things. So like, and I'll say the 3-year-old right now, he's actually the toughest. I'll say he's the toughest because he's used to having all the attention to himself. And having to share attention with his younger brother is challenging for him, but he's used to it now. So as long as he feels like he gets enough attention from both myself and Miranda, that's my wife, then I feel like he's fine. So honestly, we just have to make sure we're just parenting the best we can. So like, you know, giving them both our time and attention, and then the rest is just like, I'm just eating and so
eating and lifting.
Just eating and lifting. Because I mean, I'm lifting. I've been lifting anyways. I think because I always work out. It's not like it's anything different. For some people, they might take a little bit of time off, or they're not very strict with their eating, or they're not very consistent with their eating or their training. So now when prep comes, it's kind of like they have a lot of work to do. I've been eating similar for a while. So it's more just kind of a different switch in my mind. So it's kind of like, okay, you're going from like working out for fun to like, you're going to go, you know, train for a pro card this time. So I'm just making sure I don't miss meals or I don't miss workouts, because before sometimes I'm like, I'll miss a workout. I'll do it later because, you know, I want to hang out with my family, or I want to, or just I'm working on a project or something, you know, so I might skip a meal or whatever. But now it's like, if I skip a meal, if anything, I'm just more consistent. So I sort of feel more focused right now. Yeah.
So was Miranda into fitness when you guys met, or?
No. No. Because I say that because like people who see her now, like, oh, you should compete. Do you compete? Because they only see her now. But before, Miranda was like a cardio bunny. All she did was run. Like, she was just a runner. She used to run like every day, 7 days a week. And when we met, like that's what she used to do. She had I think it was a treadmill. She had a treadmill at the house. She'd run all the time. Well, okay, good. You do you. But I like lifting weights. And as long as you don't have a problem with it, then we're good. Because before, I'd actually had other girls in the past who had issues with me working out. Go figure. Like, it's funny because they like my muscles. They like my body. Like, oh, yeah, I like your muscles, everything. But then working out, you work out too much. Oh, you're too big. Don't get too big. It's like, woman, what is too big? Like, I'm not doing this for you. Like, I've been doing this before I met you. And then you're going to come and tell me, don't get too big.
I always laugh when they say that. It's like, I've been trying to get too big. Right? Trust me. It ain't gonna
I don't understand. It's like me saying, hey, woman, don't grow your hair out that long. Or don't grow your hair, you know? Like, I met you as this short. Don't let it go. Like, I'm not going to tell a woman what to do with her hair. So why are you going to tell me what to do with my body? And especially, it's not like I'm taking gear or anything. So I never understood that. But girls...
It's probably insecurities.
It was insecurities, man. Yeah. Like, so for me, so she didn't care that I worked out. So I'm like, okay, you don't care that I work out. You know I'm going to keep doing this for a while. Good. Because I told her one thing. The gym was here before you. Let's just say it's not going anywhere. Yeah. So I'm not going to give it up just because you're in the picture. Yeah. So she understood that very well. And then I think after after a year dating me, she's like, you really do like working out. Like I was also working as a personal trainer.
Miranda?
Yeah. So I was also working as a personal trainer then, World Health. So she was like, oh, you know what? Like, can I come to the gym with you? I want to do a workout. And then we did like a leg workout. She couldn't walk for like a week. That was also back then when my training was a little bit more intense.
Fair,
I used to go at it. Like, so I think she probably was like a little bit scared because she was like, oh my God, I can't do this again. And then
turned her off right away.
So she was like, no, I don't know how he likes this. Then we did another workout again. And then so I kind of scaled it back a little bit for her. Like she was trying to keep up with me the first time. Then I think she learned her lessons, like, just kind of stayed at her own pace. And now it's like this. So about a year after we started dating, she started working out maybe more consistently, but she'd work out with me. We'd work out like once or twice a week. It'd be like Saturdays and we'll do Saturdays and then we'll do yoga on Sundays. Then eventually we just so we'd work out once or twice a week. And then eventually she actually learned how to train after about a year of that. She knew how to train. But then she kind of did her own thing for a while because, she's a physiotherapist, so she knows it all. Now that
is that what she is?
Yeah, she's a physio. So once I taught her to exercise, she's like, oh, I don't need you anymore. I can do everything. And that's just me. And I said that because she was like a little prideful. Like she, because physios know a lot about the body, but like, dude, it doesn't matter. I know about exercise and movement. So like,
I said there's a difference between biomechanics and
thank you. And I feel like I get it. They're smart, but it's like, come on, humble yourself. So she didn't want to humble herself first. So she did her own thing. She'd get, have aches and pains. She was tired all the time. And it's like, I'd tell, because she was working out hard. Like I remember when she was pregnant with Rotimi, our firstborn. Like,
what's his name, sorry?
Rotimi.
Rotimi?
Yeah.
Where's that from?
Oh, so that's from a language. So okay. But yeah. So when she was pregnant with him, she was working out, I think 5 or 6 days a week. And I remember telling her, like, I'm a personal trainer. I work out 4 days a week, maybe 5 max, maybe 5. I work in the gym and you're working out more than that. How are you working out 5-6 days a week and you're pregnant? And it's like, there's sometimes she'd be in the gym and she's like, I don't want to be here. She looks miserable. I'm like, then why are you here? Yeah. And I like go home and my clients be like, oh, look, your wife is here. Oh, she's so strong. I'm like, stop telling her that she needs to go home. This woman needs to rest. Like, stop. So many people like, oh, your wife is so strong. Oh, look at her. She's pregnant. I'm like, stop encouraging her. She's crazy. She needs to go home. She needs to rest. After she had the baby, she was like, babe, so I realized that like maybe I don't have the best relationship with exercise, and like I just want to get better with it. Like I don't want to be, like she wanted to like she didn't want to stress her body out because she realized that it's kind of a light kicked in, and I think she realized like, okay, now I'm a mom. Like I don't know if I can work out 5-6 days a week and be a mom, but like I need to do something about my fitness, but I don't know what to do. I can't work out 5-6 days a week. I can't do what I was doing before. Yeah. Okay, let me actually talk to my husband who knows what he's doing and is a professional, and I should have listened to him in the first place. So she actually, and the thing too is like ever since she actually started taking guidance from me, so in 2020, her physique changed. Like, I can show you pictures of what her physique looked like before versus from 2020 to 2023. Different story. Like in 3 years, oh man, like her posture even improved. Like her shoulders used to be rounded because the thing is she wasn't letting me help her before. But once she started letting me help her, she actually got the results. Like she works out with me 3 days a week now, and like the people are like, oh my God, you're a killer. It's like, and she always say, yeah, that's because of my husband. And I'm like, finally. So listen,
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. So I'll say like she just a little bit of guidance for the past 3 years, and like she's made huge changes. She has a better relationship with exercise and nutrition now. Like she doesn't beat her body up anymore. And I feel like honestly that's something I think a lot of women can learn, because I feel like sometimes I'm talking about women because I'm talking about my wife right now, but they go too hard on themselves. And I think they just need to take a step back and breathe and like trust your trainer, trust your coach, listen to what they're saying. Like they have your best interests at heart. They love you. They want to see you succeed. So just listen to them. If you have a coach, if you have a trainer, stop trying to do more or stop trying to eat less. Like if they tell you to eat more carbs, eat more carbs. Don't be scared of carbs. That's part of your problem, And if they say, take 1 or 2 rest days, take 1 or 2 rest days. Because I think sometimes they're like, well, if I'm working out 5 days a week and I haven't lost this much weight, if I stop working out more, I'll gain more weight. That's what they think. But it's like, nah, that's inflammation. Once you actually, give your body a break, you lose a couple of pounds because your body's no longer inflamed. You look leaner, all that stuff. You have the results you want. but she had to sort of experience a lot of, I guess, discomfort and dissatisfaction with, what she was currently doing for her to be like, you know what, let me just humble myself and ask this guy for help. Because like I said, once I taught her how to exercise and move her body, she thought because of her physio background, she knew it all. So she had to come back to a place of like, yeah, I don't really know it all. I know how to use my body, but I don't understand programming. I don't understand, rest day structure, all that stuff. And that's where what I do comes into play. And yeah, so now when people see her and they're like, oh yeah, she looks great. She looks great. She's, if anything, it sort of helps her trust me more. So yeah. I think that's a good thing. So,
well, it's probably that dynamic because you see a lot with relationships, like the significant other doesn't want to listen, right? And I don't know the psyche behind that of why.
Women are just women. Let's just say that.
I think some men do it too.
Some guys do it. I think
some men do it too. But yeah, because like I've experienced that a lot too as a coach. But for me, like that's the same thing. I think of like I'm thinking of their health.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like when they have like sleeping issues and everything, and then they find out they work 5-6 times a week. And then you're like, okay, well, if you kind of backed off. But I think the biggest obstacle that I run into, like especially with females, is they're stressed. So they say exercise is my outlet for stress. I say, well, what do you think is making the poor management of that stress? It's that exercise.
Yep.
Right. And then you said it yourself, you just had to like, I call it let them fall on their face.
Yeah,
is what I call it.
Oh yeah, like I mean, same thing with like I remember there's once like when she was pregnant, I was like, you know what? If you want to go to the gym, go to the gym. But like if you don't feel like it, don't tell me. That's the thing. So like because I will tell you what to do. I think you should take a break. So I think it's one of those when she felt like, okay, you know what? Not so much that I was mad at her or whatever. Like she felt like she couldn't. What do you call it? There was nobody to help her. That she was like, okay, you know what? If I can do this by myself, like the only way this guy is going to sort of help me is if I listen to him. So like, yeah, I guess let her fall flat, but like just let her realize, you know what she's doing is not working. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but the thing is, I guess for me, because she was pregnant, like I didn't want her to get to that place because I'm like, yo, she's carrying my baby. Like, stop, take care of yourself. So that's where I was coming from. We had a few fights and disagreements over it, but like. I think eventually, like a month before the baby was born, like she couldn't work. I just told her, stop. Like, if you don't like, why are you doing this? And then, then when COVID happened and everything, the world was closed down, went and got some kettlebells at home. And, I guess she could see how I was still maintaining my health and fitness. And I was like, you don't have to be in the gym 5-6 days a week. When she actually saw that I was practicing what I preach. Yeah. Started asking for help. So
yeah, that's exactly it. Just no talking, just do the work. And then people are going to see that and then they'll eventually follow suit with that. What's your youngest name?
Keon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where are your parents in all of this? How do they feel about what you do for a living and the competing and whatnot?
That's an interesting question. How do my parents feel? Honestly, when it comes to that, a part of me almost doesn't really care how they feel. And it's not like a disrespectful thing. It's just more one of those, at a certain point, I realized I was doing a lot to please my parents. And like it's like they've lived their lives. I can't live my life to like please them or do stuff that doesn't, that makes them uncomfortable. And I was saying that because like my parents are pretty conservative. Me competing as a bodybuilder is not something they're ashamed about, but it's not something that I'm super proud about. Like they'll tell their friends, oh yeah, my son competes as a bodybuilder, but it's not like, they have pictures of me. Like I feel like some parents be like, oh yeah, look, this is my son, like accomplishments and like they're super proud. No, for my parents, it's just like, oh, he works out. Like that's all he does. So they were I never saw them as like supporters. I also didn't see them as like, discouragers. Like I didn't see them as supporter. I just saw them as like, oh, they're like, well, that's what he does. He lifts weights. Let him do his thing. But how do they feel about it? I feel like my dad is sort of like.
Do they come to the shows and stuff?
No, I don't think they ever will. Honestly, I don't think it's a thing.
Does that bother you?
No, in the past it did. It did when I first started. But then that's the thing. I realized that like it bothered me because I was seeking the validation. And once I realized, I'm like, I'm actually doing this for me, not for them. I'm like, that's okay. They don't need to. Like my children will go because I feel like because Rotimi loves it. Like last year in the WNBA show, he was there with me. He met some of the bodybuilders, took some pictures with him. Like he actually went on stage to pose with the kids.
Really?
He has his own medal now. Like he loves it. Like he saw me do a lot of my posing practice. I did a lot of my posing practice at home. So he knows a front double bicep, he knows a back double bicep, he knows a side chest. Like he knows how to flex, he knows how to pose. So I feel like my family supports me. And honestly, that's all I need. Like my mom, I mean, when I showed her some of the pictures from my body, she's like, oh, that's you. Oh, like, oh, you look so like all the veins and the muscles. You look like a wrestler. Like that doesn't look like you. She's gross about like muscles. She's like, and then she's like, you look like, because in the one picture I'm doing the most muscular, I had my hands like in front and like it almost looks like I'm not wearing anything. You look naked. Oh, that's so weird. Like I can't look at this. Like so, my mom just gets all like weirded out or whatever, and like gets uncomfortable. Like he's just like, oh, why seeing my son half naked and everything? It just makes her uncomfortable because like they're really conservative. But no, they don't like they're not discouragers. I think it's just hard for them to like come to terms with or be okay with it. Like, why would he just take his clothes off and do that in front of people? Like they just don't understand it. But it's like they're looking at it from their perspective instead of being like, you know what? It makes him happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's the thing. It's it's just, I don't know if it's a generational thing or whatever, but like that's how my parents are, and like I'm okay with it. Like I love them regardless. They don't have to like what I do, but are they okay with it? Yeah. And I think that's sort of it. Like they're okay with it. They're not ashamed. They don't discourage me. Like they don't say, oh, don't do this. So like, yeah, it's weird for them, I think, to just see a lot of half naked people. Like, because I mean, I'll show my mom pictures. Even from like the last show, I showed my mom pictures from some of my athletes. And one of my athletes is actually her friend's son. So she was like, yeah, I know you're training Paul. But I showed her the pictures. I'm like, look, this is Paul. And she's looking like, oh, he looks like you too. Oh, look at the muscles. My mom gets over. She's like, oh, I didn't know he was so, like, he has muscles like this. Like, oh, I didn't know Paul was so big. You know, she just gets so weirded out about like the muscles and like, you know, wearing skimpy clothing and all that stuff. But yeah, like I think it's almost too much for her. It's like overwhelmed. It's like too much skin for her. So like that's sort of it. Versus my dad. I don't think my dad cares about bodybuilding or it's just kind of like
neutral.
Yeah, he's more of like my dad is he's an interesting person. Like he's an interesting person. He doesn't care much about like physiques or aesthetics. It's like, okay, yeah, you're doing you're happy, good for you. Like that's sort of it. Like as long as I'm happy,
so that's happy. His way of supporting.
Like dad's like, you're happy, you're doing you have fun, good.
Yeah.
Versus mom is like, oh yeah, I'd like to come and watch. I just don't know. Like that's the thing. She wants to, but like she can't be okay with this. So I'm like, don't, because I don't want you to come. I don't want you to come. Like feel like you have to come. Versus my siblings, I don't know about my brother. If you want to watch a show,
how many siblings do you have?
Well, just two, brother and sister.
Okay,
but my sister wants to watch me compete.
How old are they?
My brother's 31.
Okay,
and wait, hold up. Yeah, he's 31, and my sister is 29. Jesus,
oh, so you're relatively close then. Yeah. So what's it like being the oldest?
It's like being the third parent. Well, it was like being the third parent. Yeah. Now, being the oldest, man, I just felt like there was I felt like I had to be the rebel.
Okay.
Like, well, I felt like, I had to be the rebel when I was a teenager, like 17 or so, because, you know, being an immigrant, so coming from Botswana to here, you know, I wanted to make friends. I wanted to like, you know, hang out with people, do what everyone else does. And I know my parents are like, well, why are you going out late? It's like, because that's what people here do. Because back home, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. is black. Like it's dark. We sit here in the summer. Oh, dude, 10 p.m. it looks like this. So so back home it's like you going outside at 8 p.m. Like what are you doing outside at 8 p.m.?
Really?
Like it's as black as this bottle. So there's no street lights or whatever. It's very unsafe, you know. And like you could get mugged, you know. So it's one of those for my parents. It's like, why are you going out in the middle of the night? Like that's how they grew up. I mean, so for the 40s, 50s, all of a sudden it's like. You know, why is this thing? Let me turn off. Yeah, so for them, I mean, they spent most of their life, you know, after 7 p.m., they're indoors, you know, because it's like, or if you're going outdoors, it's for purpose. You're going to get something, do whatever, or you're going to an event in a building versus, oh yeah, I'm going to a bush party. Where? It's in the woods. What are you doing in the woods? You know, my parents are like, for them, you know, they're using the African brain and they come to Canada and it's like, but so they didn't understand. So there was this thing where there was a little bit of friction, probably when I was 16, 17, 18, because like I was exploring my freedom and for them, they didn't understand because they're like, well, why does this child want to do this? Why can't you just stay home? It's like, because mom, I want to make friends. I want to have friends. So there was a little bit of a rebellion, well, what they termed a rebellious phase there. And yeah, for me, I just felt like they weren't listening to me because I wanted to make friends. I wanted to have a life. And rather than ask more questions like, well, why do you want to do this? Like, what? They were just like, well, for them, it's like, it's too late. It's like, well, is it too late for you or too late for me?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to sleep anytime. And I remember telling them, like, if I stay home, I'm just watching TV anyway. So, like, I'm still going to be up. So instead of being up, let me hang out with my friends. Well, no, when you're this home. So, yeah, there was a little bit of that. So I feel like that was it, being the firstborn. I felt like, you know, I had to fight my, you know, kind of like fight my way. Or like, no, pave the way for them. Because when my brother, I remember my brother, when he turned 18 and he wanted to go out, hey, mom, dad, I'm going out to a party. It's like, okay, have fun. What? Are you serious right now? Like, because when I want to go out, oh, where are you going? Who you going with? What time are you going to be back? There's so many questions, and sometimes they would even say no. Like my mom, when I say they, mostly mom. My mom like, no. I feel like dad was so chill. I was like, yeah, just do what you like. My dad was so chill, so sometimes I'd ask my dad, and then like I actually learned this, found out like later, because I asked my mom. My mom said no to go ask dad. Dad said yes. So they ended up having like a little bit of a fight. Okay. Yeah, because like. Because then my mom, what do you call it? Like my dad was like, oh, you know, why did you do that to me? Like, you'd already asked your mom. Your mom said no.
Oh, so you went behind each other.
Yeah. So I went, but I was like, well, because you're the man of the house. It's your house, not hers. So like, I want you. Like, mom always says no, but you said yes. And it's like, yeah, but you know, we're a team. If your mom says no, don't come and ask me. So I'd always just go ask dad. And sometimes my dad was like, what'd your mom say? I'm like, I didn't ask mom. And I go ask mom. Like, I'm asking you. Like, because I know if I ask you, you're going to say yes. If I ask mom, I don't know what I'm going to get. Yeah. So that was it, being a first child, being the firstborn, versus I feel like with my siblings was more, I don't think they heard no. They might think they heard no a lot, but I heard no a lot more. Like my brother, because when my brother was 18, I mean, it's weird just seeing them let him go out, okay, like without a lot of questioning. And I think that's because after we had the issues, after all the questioning, everything, they realized, you know what, it's okay. Like that's just something they do. Like, because I mean, at some point, when I was 18 or whatever, after a while, they did let me go out and everything, and I think they were okay with it. They actually started trusting me because I mean, after 2 years of like trying to like get my way, they're like, you know what, he's in university now. We have to trust him. We have to like. So when they finally started trusting me, I think they were like, oh, when my brother wanted to do it, they're like, oh, I guess it's just the norm now. So it was okay for them. Like it's okay versus. Before I was like, why are you trying to do this? So yeah, that's how I feel being the firstborn. I just felt like I had to carry the mantle of leadership, you know, like remember hearing stuff like, oh, you know, your siblings are watching you. And it's like, well, they shouldn't be. And I say that because it's like, I'm not their parent. Yeah. But my mom will say stuff like, oh, your siblings are watching you. And it's like, but they should be able to think for themselves. You're raising all three of us. So like, I can think for myself. They should be able to think for themselves. If they think I'm going to do what Nate does, maybe you guys aren't doing a good job. I mean, I didn't say it like that, but it's like just trying to let my mom know, like, hey, you know what? Stop trying to guilt trip me. Like, you know, saying, oh, your siblings are watching you, don't do this. It's like they can think for themselves. Like, I'm doing this because I want to. Yeah. Not because, oh, I'm trying to be disrespectful to you or trying to give them ideas. No, like, if Ben wants to do this, that's his problem. But like, I shouldn't feel like I'm not allowed to do this because you don't want my brother to do it. And I felt like that's a little bit of how I was being the firstborn. So there's some good parts, but also some not so good parts. Like, yeah.
It's always the middle child that has it the best.
It's funny you say that. My middle brother would have probably felt like, no, not really. Because
he's two boys?
Well, no. So I think it's because he didn't really feel like he belonged. Because like my sister and I, we sort of understood each other. My brother didn't really... let's just say he was a little slower. He had middle child syndrome. So I felt like he didn't really get things sometimes. Okay. Like he didn't understand our personality sometimes. Like my sister and I were very similar. My brother and I were not very similar. So we actually fought a lot as children. And the older we got, the better our relationship is. Like I'd say, I probably started becoming friends with my brother. It's weird saying that. Friends with my brother when he turned 17. Yeah. Because like before then he just annoyed me. Then when he was 17, it's like he started maturing and like, you know, we were actually able to be friends. So yeah, I'd say that was it. Like
I was like my mother and I, we didn't really get along until after I had moved out. Yeah. Like I never got along with her ever really.
That's
and
crazy.
Then when we moved out, then we finally started to like create a friendship or whatever.
Interesting.
But until then, and my sister and I have never she's older.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And like all we did was fought. Like she's my half sister. I don't know if maybe that played into it, maybe. And then when my parents divorced,
sibling rivalry, man. It's
it was not good. And so I don't like, if I'm being brutally honest, like I don't ever recall a good moment with my sister.
Interesting.
I don't, and I'm not like bashing her or anything. It's just that was our childhood. Like I do not. All I ever recall was fighting and like physical abuse and everything. Like I do not ever recall a good moment with my sister.
See, my brother and I, we fought a lot, but we also had a lot of, I mean, we had good moments. It's just, there was just a lot more of us fighting and not getting along. And I think part of it was like, I had to be responsible for my brother because we were 18 months apart. So we always went to the same school. And like, it sucked for me because I felt like I always had to play my brother's keeper. I mean, to the point that like, even when we moved out or whatever, so he was my roommate as well too. My mom would come, oh, how you doing? How's your brother doing? Hey, mom, you called me to ask how I'm doing. If you want to know how Ben is, call Ben. Like, why are you calling me to ask how Ben's doing? Oh, because he's your brother. You should know. And this was, man, I think it was after I got married that I had to tell my parents. You do realize, guys, I'm married. I don't live with him. You gotta stop asking me about this guy.
Does he not call them lots or?
No, honestly, he probably has the best relationship with my parents. My brother has the best relationship with my parents, and as in today, but I think back then, the thing is, because I was always responsible for my brother, I think literally they didn't see it as like, oh, you know what? We're always asking Nate how Ben is doing. Like they didn't see it. To them, it's just normal because, well, he goes to the same school as, they go to the same school. So he'll know how his brother's doing. We're different grades, mom. We have different friends, but like.
Maybe they want you like a spy.
Honestly, that's it. Because my brother's like a troublesome child. So like, I think my parents just wanted to like, know that, you know, somebody's keeping tabs on him, and it's like, but that's not my responsibility. But that was the responsibility that was forced on me. Well, I'll say forced on me. I don't know if that's the right choice of words, but that's the relationship. That's the responsibility that was put on me. But my parents, mostly mom. When I say parents, I'm saying mostly mom. I'm just gonna say that right now. My dad is cool. Mostly mom. So like, you know, mom was worried about Ben. So. But if Nate's watching Ben, then she doesn't have to worry about Ben. That's sort of how I like to, I mean, now that I'm a parent, I like to think that's how she saw it. Oh, you know, Ben is always, because like I said, my brother was a little bit slow to understand things. Like, I'll tell him, hey, Ben, this is pissing me off. Stop it. He'll hear what I'm saying, but I don't know if it'll clue in like, hey, I'm actually annoying my brother right now. Because then I feel like he'll do it again and push my buttons. And like, then when I snap, but oh, there you go. See, you always get mad all the time. And it's like, dude, I literally just told you this is annoying me. Yeah. So if you do it again and I snap, why are you surprised? Like, why are you surprised? That's just my brother. I feel like he was a little different. So that's how he was growing up. So we didn't get along a lot. And I think, you know, and also I think because my mom knew he was kind of, we'll say different, she wanted to make sure he was fine. He wasn't getting in trouble. And like, so I was like the spy, like you said, just kind of watch him. Oh, you know, make sure your brother's fine. Like literally your brother's keeper. I was like my brother's keeper. And and I'll say I've made peace with it now, but there's a point like when I had my first son, remember all these feelings came out. I hated it. I kind of resented them for a little bit. I actually got mad. Your
parents?
Oh yeah, I told them I got mad. Like, you guys, what did I say? I think I got mad though, like so surprised. I was like, you know what? Like, you guys I was the third parent. All I had to do was watch after Ben, blah, blah. And they're like, where's this coming from? Like, it's a privilege for you to be an older brother. I'm like, yes, to be a brother, not a parent. I'm supposed to be his brother, not his parent. Like, I'm not supposed to be he's not my responsibility. Oh, but you're the firstborn. Yeah, but like, you know, it's one of those, I felt like I wanted to choose. Like, I should have to choose, you know what? This is my brother, I'll look after him. And if I don't want to look after him, that's fine. Why? I'm not his parent. It's not my responsibility. But then they made it. When I say they, once again,
it's a cultural thing.
It's a huge cultural thing.
Yeah, because if I recall, I don't think my sister ever maybe like, you know, make sure he gets to school or something like that.
Oh, dude, but I had to wake up my brother. Mom was like, go wake up your brother. Make sure your brother's awake. Like when I say I was responsible for my brother, I felt like, and it's in hindsight, it's one of those things. Well, is it good or bad? I don't know. It taught me leadership. It taught me a whole bunch of things, but like probably could have learned those other lessons, you know, through other things, because I feel like naturally I'd like to say maybe I'm a natural born leader, but also was it because I had to third parent my younger brother? Who knows, right? Yeah. Like who really knows? So that's just it's one of those things. But yeah, being a parent, I mean, being the firstborn, I'll give you one pro at least culturally. there's a lot more honor and respect given. So like my parents respect and honor me a lot more than I'll say my other siblings. Like, especially now that I have my own family, I have my own children, like my parents sort of see me as equals now. And like my brother's married, he's got his own wife, but I feel like there's this thing where like my parents, when they talk about, it's almost like, you know, like it's almost like I'm like my dad almost. It's kind of like if my brother was to talk disrespectful to me, my mom was like, hey, stop that, that's your big brother, you know. So like now and I mean there's always been a little bit of that for the most part, but it's more exaggerated, or not exact, it's more present now, because it's like, hey, you know what, your brother is like, you know, like I'm here now, so it's kind of like, you know, don't mess with him. And we've also had a few talks, just a few talks about you know, just upbringing, things I didn't like about them. I had a heart-to-heart with my parents last year in May, just hashed out a whole lot of things I wasn't quite happy about that they did. Things, you know, I mean, I told I forgave them everything, but it's like we needed to let them know, like, I don't like a lot of things you guys did. I didn't like a lot of things way things turned out, and it helped us kind of build a better relationship. So they really respect me now, because it's like, I mean, my dad was saying, for me to actually talk to him, for me to, you know, bring up that kind of thing and like have the wisdom to, you know, have that conversation with them, he really respects me 100%. And like my mom was crying and like apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I did this to you. I didn't know this how you felt, all that stuff. Like, yeah, we hashed it out. Like everyone talked about it, the fact that like, oh, a little bit about the bodybuilding. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I know you don't really like bodybuilding, mom, but like, could you at least not like, you know, at least show a little bit of interest when I say, hey, I'm doing a show. Can you at least ask, oh, where's this show? Because before she was like, oh, okay. Like she never used to ask. And like, that was one of the things that used to bother me, because it's like, if my brother was doing something, like, oh, what are you good? Because my brother's like very gifted in like music, all that stuff. So like he'll go DJ. Oh, you're DJing at this wedding? Like she'll know who's DJing for. She'll know them. Like she'll know everything. And I'm like, well, I'm doing a bodybuilding show. You don't give a crap. So like, for me, that really messed with me, because I'm like, well, you only care about Ben and his thing. But like for me, when I'm doing a bodybuilding show, you're like, you don't care. So like, you know, having that talk with them. I
get that with my grandparents. They don't have any interest in what I do, and it's my extreme passion. And so like when you go for family dinners and everybody's talking about their jobs and what they're doing, and I don't get asked at all what I do. But I think it's that older generation, like you mentioned, where they just kind of don't I don't know that they don't believe in it, because they've seen the proof that I've provided, but they don't understand it, but they don't want to understand it. And it hurts. It really does. But you know, you get stronger the more you get hurt. So eventually you kind of just get over it.
Yeah. It's funny you say, wow. Because with Miranda's parents, they don't, I mean, I feel like they know that I'm a trainer, but like it's when I go to the house and we have like family dinners or whatever, I would chat, like they don't ask what I do. They don't they never bring up my profession. And like I'm okay with it now, because I don't know how they feel about my profession, and I don't really. The problem is like, I don't know if I care or want to know, because if it's negative, I'm like, I don't want to know. Yeah, you know. So it's like, because I feel like if you interested, you'll show with your interest. You'll ask questions. If you're not asking questions, then maybe you don't care. So like,
yeah. Well, like so I'll tell you a story that happened to me in terms of that. I was my grandmother's birthday, and there was all the family got together at a restaurant in Red Deer. And like, so obviously we had one of those huge tables taken up, and I was prepping, but not for a stage. That's when I had got down a single digit body fat percentage.
Okay.
And I was about 2 weeks away from being done, to being what we thought was about 5 or 6% body fat. And so I was like, well, I'll have steak and vegetables, whatever. Right. And, like I got into one of those zones where you talk super fast and you're like very vibrant because you're excited about what you're talking about. And my grandpa was like, 1 second. I was like, what? And he's like, he looks around. He's like, is anybody else even listening? And started laughing. Yeah. And I ate over 100,000 calories of sweets in 1 week. I put on 22 pounds.
That's rough, man.
Yeah, it triggered me hard. I went to therapy and everything for it, and like to hypnotherapy and whatnot. And so from that moment on, I was like, I don't ever want to go through that again. And you know, at the end of the day, it was like we were talking about with Miranda. She saw you practice what you preach. So instead of talking about it, just do it, and one day they will accept it. And they are getting there. They are getting there. And like I will share, because I'll get so recently I got accepted to more practitioner things. And so I'll send them those emails, and I'll get nice text messages. So they're really coming along. But When we go for family dinners, it's what is my sister doing? What is my brother? Like my brother-in-law's got an MMA fight tomorrow that we're all going to go to.
Oh,
and they're all talking about this and everything.
It's like, for you, it's like, nah.
Yeah,
we don't really. Oh, that's so.
You know, and like I'm just like, okay, like I'm proud of him and I'm going to support him and everything. But it's just like it's an MMA fight. I'm like saving lives here. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I don't know why it's still somewhat. I don't know if it's like the generation or whatever, but it's like some people have a very weird thing about personal training or like fitness coaching, but it's like a lot of people don't know how to take care of their bodies, and what we do is so important. And like, man, it's crazy. Yeah, it blows my mind how people like maybe I don't know. Like maybe let me ask you a question. Do you think maybe they think, well, it's one of those now that it's an insecurity thing because it's one of those, you know how to take care of yourself and your health, and like some people
it's the two things I think. Yeah, it's the fear of the unknown. Yeah, but they choose not to understand that. But another thing I was actually talking about recently with a podcast guest was everyone does it because it looks like a cushy job. And so then you talk about like how you used to work at World Health. Like I don't know about World Health, but Good Life. It was a 3-day weekend course that a 5-year-old could pass. Yeah. And then you were a personal trainer.
That's true, actually.
And because everybody sees it and they think, oh, what a cushy job. I just get to stand there and tell people what to do and make money, right? And then you get a boatload of them. And I think maybe that's where they're coming from too. But as well, also, when did personal training really come into play? Because my grandpa's 80 something. I really don't think there was personal trainers when he was 20, true. 30.
Yeah, that's actually true.
And the thing is too, so I was in a course the other day and the guy was like, thankfully, when I was into junk food, this is what he was saying, it was not as bad with all the GMOs and pesticides and everything. So when you try to tell your grandparents that, hey, look, this isn't good for you. Well, back when they were 20, it was fine for them because it wasn't saturated with chemicals and everything. So I think there's a lot of avenues coming into play, but I think the biggest thing is the fear of the unknown and just not wanting to understand.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. It bogs my mind because I'm like, why wouldn't you want to understand? Like, this is something that could transform your life. Like, why? It's kind of like if I knew somebody that like was making $1 million and knew how to help people become millionaires, and I was gonna ask him, hey man, you know, like, hey, do you have any tips about like investing? I'll be picking their brains, you know, and it's like, here you are, a fitness professional. You can transform their life, and like, I'm not gonna ask him anything. Like,
you want to know something crazy? Mind. So, not trying to sound like showboat or anything, but I was featured on the news for helping save a man's life from terminal prostate cancer. They gave him 8 months to live. He's on, I think, 6+ years now or something is what he's on. Damn. My grandpa has prostate cancer. Never thought once to reach out to me. Never thought once. Like, and so I have the living proof of working with that and never thought once to reach out to me.
Well, this is interesting. My father-in-law, I trained my father-in-law. We worked together like online coaching for about 10 months. Like, as far as I'm concerned today, I haven't heard anything. I was even telling my wife the other day, I was like, I haven't heard your dad complain about any aches or pains. Like, no aches, no pains. Like before, it's like, oh, you know, he'd clean the garage. Oh, I have this pain in my back because my wife's a physio. It's like, okay, help me with my back, help me with my knees. It's always aches and pains. I haven't heard Alex complain about anything in like 2 years. No aches and pains. And then there's my dad, who I've been doing this for how many years? Dad will not ask me for help for what? My dad's a pharmacist. So it's one of those, I really don't understand. It's
There's probably that headbutt there though with being a pharmacist versus like we'll call it, let's say functional, like holistic type health. There's probably that headbutt there. Yeah. And I think that's the older generation too.
I don't get it because my thing is like, you know, I think I've told Dad I'm in preventative medicine. You're in kind of like manage it now, slap a Band-Aid on. But the thing is like, you can combine the two together. And so, and my thing too is, and I think for me, where it sort of blows my mind is, you know, seeing how, active and fit and strong my father-in-law is versus my dad. They're the same age, 6 months apart. There's 6 month difference between them. But it's like my dad behaves like an old man compared to like my father-in-law, because it's like, you know, he went from having aches and pains and everything, limited mobility, to like he's lost weight, he looks healthy, like he can eat whatever he wants and doesn't gain weight now. Actually, that's one of the things that my mom-in-law complains about. Oh, he's eating on snacking all the time. It's like, let him do it because he worked hard. Because I mean, shit, it's one of those. I'd love to work with her as well too, but she's not ready to work with me. That's okay. She'll come in her own time. So I think that's the thing, you know, like because before he used to be so.
Is this the father-in-law you're still talking about?
Yeah, my father-in-law. So I guess before he used to watch his. I mean, he was more, not that he didn't snack a lot, but it's like maybe he was more conscious of what he ate. But like now, because he understands his body well, he's dropped some body fat, put on some muscle, his metabolism is a little bit different. Like he feels younger. So now he can snack more because, you know, his, what do you call it? His, I mean, you understand, like your metabolism's improves. So, but she doesn't understand because she hasn't worked with me yet. So like, she's like, oh, you can eat. So she gets upset when he's snacking and everything. It's like, maybe if you work with me, you'll be able to snack more. But that's,
here's the thing.
Yeah.
No one has any idea what you do unless they work with you. And even if they work with you, you're not going to treat everybody the same.
Nope.
And I don't mean that in emotion. I'm talking about like the protocols and the plans and everything.
Everyone's different.
And so like people have no idea what you do until they work with you.
Yeah. So, and yeah, that's just it. So it's like hearing that, it's like, oh man, that's kind of crazy how, because I mean, your grandpa could ask you for help. My dad could ask me for help, but they're not going to. And like, the thing is, I'm okay with it. There was a point where there's
probably some pride there though, being father, son.
Well, I think so. But a part of me is also like, I do get it, but it's also like, I mean, it's one of those, I think for me, where I'm coming from is, like, if my son was able to do something and able to help me, I would want him to help me. But that's also the relationship I have with my son. But also, I don't know if it's a cultural thing for my dad, right? Because maybe, and I say that because, you know, culturally, it's one of those, you know, parents are here, children are there. So, like, even though my parents, once again, like I said, they see me as kind of like an equal or whatever, because, you know, of the conversations I've had with them and just like how things have shaped up, I still think maybe there's like a little bit of that cultural thing where it's like, okay, you know what? I don't know if it's maybe asking for help or like, you know, submitting to knowing that, you know what, I don't know everything and somebody knows something or somebody can help me better. I don't know what it is, but I want to think maybe it's like a cultural thing because, and I say that because even with their friends, I don't see or can't think of a lot of their friends asking the children for help if they have a solution. I feel like they're more likely to hire somebody outside or talk to one of their peers. So like, my dad's more likely to talk to maybe one of his peers, maybe a doctor, be like, oh, you know what? Is one of his, because I mean, he's a pharmacist, so he could have a doctor friend who's like, oh, I have this program or whatever, or he's more likely to take advice from somebody closer to his age. Yeah. Or maybe in his field than like his son. And I think it's like a cultural thing. So, but I've learned not to take it personal. The thing is, I'm just waiting. And I jokingly say this thing that like, whoever is not paying me now is going to pay me later. At some point, you're going to pay me. Don't pay me now, that's fine. You're going to pay me later, and there's going to be a premium later. Because right now, you can afford me now. Later, you'll afford me. It's just going to cost you more. You're going to pay me at some point. Yeah. So that's how I see it, and that's just how I'm choosing to see it. And I just hope it's not too late, whatever that means. But
no, I get you. Yeah. So how much do you think the way you were raised by your parents influences how you're going to parent your children, or how you are parenting your children?
It's very huge, man. Very huge, because I think for me, feeling like I had to do things a certain way just because that's the way. And I mean, so for me, the one thing that I'll say about culture is sometimes I like to think it's good. It's good because it teaches people similar values. So it's one of those, everybody has the same values. But I also don't like it because I feel like sometimes it takes away from individuality or you expressing yourself, because it's kind of like
within your culture.
Within my culture, because it's like, well, girls have to do this or guys have to do this. Well, what about I want to do this? So there's no I. That's more like, you know, it's for the community, it's for the culture, it's for everyone. Well, it's like, well, what about doing things for yourself? So that's my thing with the culture. Sometimes I feel like with the culture, I was taught to put other people's, you know, priorities above mine. Like, oh, I have to speak a certain way, I have to behave a certain way, I have to dress a certain way because I don't want to offend people. I don't want to, you know, like, just all these things. So I kind of put other people before me. I feel like I put other people before me. I put, you know, the elders, anyone who was older than me, like I put their needs before my needs. I put their feelings before my feelings. So if somebody was older than me and they spoke rudely to me, I had to keep quiet. Like I can't talk back, because if I do, that's very disrespectful. But it's like, you can speak rudely to me, but I cannot defend myself, or I cannot speak up and say, hey, that's rude. I can't even talk back. I just have to like suck it up. So I don't know if I like that aspect, because I feel like it's, you know, kind of dims a person's character or personality, because, you know, everybody's born with personalities, everyone's different. But then with the culture, it makes you have to be like everybody. You know, And for me, that's something I sort of struggled with because I like thinking for myself. I one of the things I like telling people, even my wife, question everything. Question everything. I'm not saying rebel against everything, but question, is what I'm hearing true? Is what I'm hearing fact?
Yeah.
You know, we can all think for ourselves. And I feel like with culture, you can't question it because, well, this is the way it's done. Like, I'll ask my parents, like, well, this is just what we do. Well, this is how it's done. So you don't even have an answer for why I'm doing it. You're just telling me to do it because this is the way it's done. Why? Somebody else made you do it, or somebody else thinks you should. Like, you know, so that was my issue with culture. So because of that, now the way I see things is there's individuality or freedom of expression is something I want my children to have because I feel like I didn't have a lot of that. There's that. Then also being on the other side of culture, having the values and having the values so strong is also something that I like as well too, because I feel like sometimes where there's no culture, there's no values. So it's like there has to be some values. So the culture can be good for values, but it can be terrible for like your individuality or yourself or your own expression, because you have to do
fine line, eh?
Yeah, so it's just that thing where it's like, you know what, have your values, express yourself, but don't disrespect people, or don't disrespect people, don't say anything just don't disrespect people, and be conscious of other people. So be conscious of other people, but not so much that like you can't do what you want. And in the conversation I had with my parents, one of the things I said was like, hey, you know what, I feel like you guys sort of, you expect me to behave a certain way, and when I don't behave a certain way, rather than ask, hey, how come you're doing this way, how come you're behaving this way, you just say, oh, it's a generational thing. And I'm like, Mom, Dad, that's such a cop out, because guess what I hear when you say it's a generational thing? What I'm hearing is this: oh, Nathaniel's doing something, we don't know why he's doing anything, but we can't be bothered to ask him. We'll just say, oh, it's a generational thing. Do you know what that tells me? That tells me you don't want to get to know me better. Because guess what? If you do something that bothers me, or like I don't understand, I'm like, why is Dad behaving like this? I'm going to be like, hey, if I can't ask Dad directly, I'll go ask Mom, why is Dad doing this? Like, do you have an explanation? I want to know. Or Dad, like, what's going on? Like, you don't normally do this. And I'll try to get to know, because I'm like, well, I've known you guys all my life. Now you're behaving a certain way. Like, why? What's going on? And in me asking, I'm connecting with you. I'm building a relationship. I'm getting to know you. When you just say, oh, that's a generational thing, that's such a cop-out. You know nothing about me. You just say it's a generational thing. It's not a generational thing. It's a me thing.
Yeah.
And you don't get to know me or whatever. And like, that's the thing. So if there's something that I'm doing that you don't understand, ask me, get to know me. And maybe you'll understand. Maybe it's a me thing. Maybe it's a generational thing. But even then, you get to know me, and we get to kind of connect, versus this thing where it's just like, okay, well, this is not our culture. This is different. And then it's like, because what ends up happening is, we are creating distance instead of building connection. So, when I told them that, I said, you know what, there's some things that you guys did or like did with us, how you raised me or whatever, that like I didn't like as a child. But guess what? You're my parents. I'll always love you. I'll always respect you because you're my parents. Now, with me saying that, you also need to know that there are some things that I will do as your child that you will not like. But guess what? You have to be okay with it because I'm your child. So can we be okay with that? Can you be okay with me doing things that you don't like, but I'm not disrespectful. I'm not disrespecting you. I'm not doing it to hurt you. You just know I'm being me. Maybe it just makes you uncomfortable, but you're okay with it because I'm me. I'm happy. I'm not hurting anybody. Same thing. There's some things that you might say, you might do or whatever that I don't like, but if you're not hurting anybody, you're not disrespecting, I have to be okay with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of how I'm choosing to raise my children, because they're going to do things I don't like, but as long as they're not breaking the law, they're not disrespecting anything, they're not, doing anything without values or whatever, then like I'm okay with it, So yeah, like if one of my sons, like for example, you're talking about your brother does MMA. I'm not much for like MMA or fighting or whatever, but if one of my kids wants to do that, go for it. I'm not gonna be like, oh man, you're fighting, and I'm no, like go do your thing, man. Like, it's not something I value, it's not something I like, but hey, is it hurting me? Is it disrespecting me? No.
Yeah.
So can I be okay with it? Yes. So stuff like that. That's how I'm gonna choose to raise my family. And I think just having that, having the both sides, or being able to see both sides is sort of huge for me, because I've told my wife something. I'm like, the way I see the world is so different because I've grown up in different cultures. I don't see the world one way because, typically cultures see the world from their own view. So like if you're Canadian, you only see things the Canadian way. If you're African, you only see things the African way. Like I'm a Nigerian dude who grew up in Botswana. There's differences between Nigeria and Botswana, and I've seen that. I've experienced that. And then now I'm coming from Botswana to Canada. It's like there's differences between that, and I've seen that, I've experienced that. So I look at the world, I see things differently. Like some things my wife will get upset at, I'm like, and it's not like a guy or girl thing. It's literally like because of stuff I've experienced, it's like this is not a thing.
Yeah.
Then there's some things where I might get upset with, and she's like, but that's not a thing. Like for an example, this one, like for her, if she gets mad at her parents, she can stand up and walk out. Like just
okay.
the conversation. So if she like her parents are saying something she doesn't like, she can stand up and walk out. For me, I would never do that. If my parents are saying something that I don't like, I'm gonna sit there and listen to I have to. I will. Why? They're allowed to say what they want. It's a respect thing. For me to stand up and walk away, that's a slap in the face. That's me saying, I don't care about what you guys are saying. I think how I feel or what I'm thinking or whatever, my opinion is better than yours. Screw you guys, I'm walking away. I would never do that to my parents. But for her, the way it is if she walks away, for her, it's like I didn't want to yell at my parents, so I walked out. But for me, it's like, and the thing is, both are right. But my thing is just like, okay, I see the world so different. So I can see on both sides. And I say that because when that happened, when that actually happened, my parents were there. So we were wedding planning, and like my wife, at the time she was my fiance, she got up and just walked out of the conversation. And my parents were like, oh. And I was just like, oh no. Because my parents are like, how can she do this? Like, yeah. And I'm just like, oh man. Because I knew where my wife was coming from. Because I know the dynamics of my parents, but also know like what my parents were thinking. Because my parents were like they're looking at each other. Like, they couldn't, because she just got up and walked out.
Yeah.
Because my parents, to her, they saw it as she got up and walked out on them too. Because even though it was her parents talking, it's one of those, well, she can walk out on her parents. Why wouldn't she walk out on us? So I had to be like, guys, y'all are making this about you. It has nothing to do with you. You didn't grow up with her. This is how she grew up. So I had to explain it to them. And they're like, but I was like, Mom, this is not your culture. So you need to understand now that when she does this, she's not disrespecting you. She's not disrespecting her parents. If anything, this is probably better. For us, in my culture, the way we do things is like, well, I sit there, let you say everything, and then when I'm done, I speak whatever. And it's like, and the thing too is like and it's one of those, sometimes I can disagree with my parents. I can be like, you know what? Well, I don't like this. Versus I feel like with her, if she says it, it's more friction. Versus for me, if I say I don't like it, I don't like it. Yeah. And like the thing is, I will not argue with my parents. I'm like, I don't like this. If I've said I don't like it, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Versus for her, that could be an argument. So rather than argue, she just got up and walked away.
Avoidance.
Versus for me, I'm like, it's kind of a cultural thing. I can't walk out on my parents while they're talking. So like, and the thing, it's just different, right? But also, I mean, using that as an example, I learned how to be able to stay in uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable conversations, feel my own, basically be triggered, but also kind of like keep my cool, because there's some times when my parents will say so many things, mostly Mom once again, and I'm just there like, and I'll just stay. And that's another thing too. So like my mom would be okay with me. Like, even if I wasn't like, so at first I'd be looking at her, and then after I'll just like look away, and I'll just like look at my hand, and I'll be like just waiting until she's done talking, and she'd be okay with it. Why? Because I'm not saying anything disrespectful. I'm there. Versus somebody else that's like, you're not looking at me, you're looking at your hands. That's disrespectful. Yeah. So for my parents, that's not disrespectful. I'm still giving them the audience.
Okay.
I'm just managing my emotions because they know that like I'm not liking what they're saying, so they can tell, yeah, Nate doesn't like this at all, but whatever, he's still there. So like, I'll literally be like this. I'm like waiting for them to finish. I'm not interested at all. I'm like, okay, are you done? Can I go? Okay. If Miranda said that's a different, so it's slightly different differences. So I can be like, okay, are we done? Can I go? Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I feel like if I can't imagine me. So if I had Miranda's mom or whatever, and I said that would be like World War III. Because she's like, how dare you? Am I done? Are you? And I say that because I've had girls fight, like in the past, girls will argue. I'm like, okay, are you done? Okay, cool, I'm out. And I'll just leave. And it's, you know what I mean? A girl ream you out, and then I'm just like, I'll take it. Are you done? and I learned like that's a nice way to like finish an argument or just kind of get the last piece, because they think they'll burn me and I'm like, are you done? Because I did that with my parents, because other guys, I think it's one of those when the girls are walking out, you'll see guys like trying to leave or whatever, like, oh, this girl's talking, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna hang up on her. Nah, for me, I'll hear everything, but then I'm gonna end it. Are you done? Okay, thank you. And I'm out, because I had to learn that. So I think with the culture thing, that's how I'm going to raise my kids. And I don't know how they're going to be when they grow up, but they're going to be different for sure. They're going to have values. They're going to be tough, but they're also going to be like, they're going to speak their mind. Because that's another thing too. I spoke my mind, and sometimes I got in trouble. A lot of times I got in trouble. Yeah,
you're always going to get in trouble when you speak your mind. But well, and like with him too, with the whole, like where you said he's getting on stage and everything like that, you're setting such a good example right there too. So like, it's probably going to be easier for you to instill those values into them. Yeah. Where you seem like most children nowadays, man, like I'm not a parent, like, but I have some very close friends of mine. It's interesting because remember how we were talking about if you haven't worked with a coach or like, oh no, it's not saying to a console, but it's the same concept. If you were someone's first and only coach, they have no idea what it's like to be with somebody else. No, right? Yeah, that's true. That's true. So these very close friends of mine, they always wondered if their child was like acting up. And I'm like, no, you have an amazing kid. But it's because they haven't been around any other children or anything. So it's like, they don't know. Is he being good? Is he being bad? I'm like, no, he's being amazing. Yeah. Right. And so the fact that, you have all this experience and then you're going in and sounds like your son is following your footsteps and everything. It sounds like you're going to have a much easier time. I hope so. Parenting how you want to parent. Yeah.
No, him and I are very close, actually. I'd say, like yesterday, we actually took him to Treehouse. So like every now and then I like to spend some time with him. So I took him to Treehouse, like an indoor playground. We were there for like,
I've been there.
Almost 3 hours. Yeah. Play some games, all that stuff. And like his heart was so full that him and I are buddies. So like, and I feel like that's going to be way different from how my parents raised me, because I didn't see my parents as my friends. I saw them as my parents. Okay. Versus I feel like my son will see me as his parents and his friend. And I think it's nice to have both. Like, because if you're too parenty, then like you don't have that friendship relationship. Okay. And if you're too friends, then it's like your kids can walk all over you. So I feel you want to have that nice thing where it's boundaries. Like, either parent, you can like, instill rules. You can say no, and they'll understand. They'll be like, oh. And then also they're able to talk to you. So like there's that freedom, there's that openness, but then there's also that respect aspect. I'm like, that's sort of what I want with my children. That's literally it. No, I'm your dad. Listen to me, question me if you have to. And like, if I don't know something, like sometimes they'll ask me something like, I don't know. Daddy doesn't have all the answers. I'm like, I don't have to have all the answers. Like I'm your parent. I'm not, Mr. Know-it-all. And I feel like sometimes kids, we think our parents know everything. And I want to let my parents know, my child know I don't know everything, because, I just want to be honest with them, man. Like I don't know everything. I'm not going to know everything. Another thing I've told my wife and more as something to help her is this: as parents, we will always do what we think is best for our children, but know that you're going to mess up. You're going to make a mistake, because guess what? That child is going to grow up and at some point they'll be like, hey, mom, dad, I wish I had done this different, or I didn't like this thing that you did. But the thing is, it doesn't mean you did something wrong as a parent. It doesn't mean you messed up as a parent. You'll always have your child's best interest at heart, for most parents, at least most good parents. And the thing, sometimes what you think is right for your child is not right, because you're thinking from your perspective. You think, well, as a parent, I think this is right for my son or my daughter. But your daughter will know what's better for them or what's right for them or whatever. And the thing is, you kind of won't know until, time has flown and, he's in his 20s or whatever. So then, I might be like, oh, dad, I wish I didn't go to this school. I wish, you didn't pull me out of this. I wish I didn't move here. All these things, like, but you won't know until they're older. But the thing is, I'm okay with that. And I'm okay knowing that, in his 20s, he might tell me, hey, dad, I didn't like this, or I wish you did this different, or, like this really bothered me. And I'm okay with it, because like, I know I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try my best. My best is not going to be enough, but I'm okay with that because it's my best. So I'm definitely okay. As when it comes to parenting, I feel like that's honestly the one thing I can say I'm definitely the most confident about. And I think it's just because everything I've been through, I feel like, I get it. From with my parents, the culture, everything, just everything. I'm like, okay, I think I'm okay with being a parent. I'm going to be the best parent I can be, but that also doesn't mean the perfect parents. Like, I'm going to be the best parent that I can be. Like, and I mean, I could be a better parent when I'm 40 versus right now I'm 33. Am I the best parent? Yeah, right now in my 30s. But will I be a better parent when I'm 40? Yes. So, you know, will I be okay with the mistakes I'm making now in my 30s? Yes. Because I'm not going to be making them in my 40s. And that's just sort of it for me. Yeah, as far as parenting, I have no issues, no qualms. I'm excited to see how my children are going to grow up to be. And it's just because of the intention that I have, that I've always had since both of them. I just want them to, just be well-rounded, question everything. And be okay to express themselves.
So is your niche, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought at some point that you work with like a lot of fathers.
No, so
or is it funny over?
So funny enough, at first I didn't really have a niche. It was all over the place, and then I started getting more women out of nowhere, and then I remember just being like, "Oh man, I want to work with more guys." So now I have more guys than I do girls. None of them are fathers, actually. None of them are fathers.
Because I thought you put something on social media one time that you were searching for over like a certain age or something.
Yes, I was, and that was for my online coaching and like a group. It's actually funny because I have 4 guys.
Okay, so
I have 4 guys in there. Yeah, 4 guys in there right now. Actually, sorry, I guess one is a father. Alex is a father. Okay, I lied. Okay. So I got one who's a dad. Yes, I got one who's a dad, but no, all my other clients are not. They're not fathers. They're just guys, and it's this thing where I realized, I just wanted to help guys out more. I mean, obviously, I like women too, but me being a guy, me being a father, I realized, you know what? Men have a special place in society. I'm like, oh man, I hope this doesn't get me in trouble. But like, I know the way things are in society, I feel like, men don't really know where the place is right now. It's this thing where, oh man, like what I'm about to say, I'm like, I hope if I get a bird, but it's one of those things now, like it's confusing, and I guess it's confusing for me because I'm just speaking my opinion. So like it's confusing for me where what do you call a trans guy? Yeah, a trans guy will say he's a guy. It's like, I'm sorry, you're a woman. You have no idea what it's like to be a man. You can call yourself and identify as a man. That's cool too. I've said I'm Chinese several times. No Chinese person ever say, "Oh, you're Chinese." So like, I can identify as Chinese, but like, let's be honest, I'm not Chinese. I don't know what it's like to be a Chinese person. So like, with guys nowadays, with everybody being, women can be guys, and then guys are saying they're girls. It's confusing as a man. I'm sure the same thing for women, but I don't know what women are going through, so I can't speak on women's experiences. I can speak as a man, and I don't know how other guys feel about what's going on, like their lack of control, their lack of power, or like how they're going to, what do you call, like how they can even behave. I don't know if you've seen all these memes or like videos about toxic masculinity in the gym. Like,
yes, yeah.
And for me, I'm like, dude, that's everybody looks in the gym. When I say everybody looks in the gym, people look at me all the time in the gym. I'm not gonna be like, oh, toxic femininity, toxic masculinity. But it's like this thing where guys don't know where they belong. Guys don't know how to behave. Guys don't know what they can do anymore. It's a very weird place for guys. And I mean, maybe for everybody too. But as a guy, I'm just seeing that this is a very interesting space and time for guys and guys who identify, straight guys. It's very, very interesting. So for me, it's like, you know what, if I can just be that one dude to just, help you out, or like create a space where you can feel like a dude, you can feel like a man, you can, joke, be free, do all these things, but also work on your health and fitness. And then also allow me to challenge you as a human being as well too, then for sure, like, that's sort of what I want to do right now. Like that's where I'm at right now when it comes to guys. So I love working with guys more because, I just want to see them feel empowered, feel good about them, because, I don't know what other guys are going through or, what their situation is. Imagine going to the office as a guy and it's like, one of your coworkers is a girl, but says he's a guy. And like he's, I don't know how all of those things makes them feel. Because I've had some conversation with other people, and it seems like, guys are confused right now. So I really would just want to help guys just feel like guys again, whether it's you're able, you feel like a man, because that's the thing. I don't know what a man is supposed to feel like or whatever, but men are just men. If you're born with a penis, as far as I'm concerned, you're a man, and that's all you need. Just be proud about that. And, if you want to feel strong versus, sometimes I feel like some guys, they don't want to talk about being jacked, or I feel like, they don't want to sound like toxic males. I'm like, I don't think there's anything toxic about wanting to be jacked. You have testosterone, man. It's in you. It makes you like, you have it, I have it. It makes you want to just, you want to feel, it's a man thing, man. You want to feel strong. You want to feel like you're in control. And I feel like, fitness is one aspect where men can at least have that, because in your job, do you feel like you have control? Do you feel like you have strength or power? No, you have a boss over you. You have women who are coming in and like taking, taking control and doing things. And I'm not saying women should not come into the workforce. I'm not saying women should not take a lead. I'm just saying some guys could feel like they have no strength, no control, no power in their lives because, they can't do certain things, or they're scared to say things, or they're scared to do things. But man, imagine if you can come to the gym, you lift some weights, you get your blood flowing, get your testosterone surging, you feel strong, you feel good, you're doing something manly or something that makes you feel like a man, makes you feel good. Dude, you're riding a high a couple times a week. You feel good about yourself and about who you are. That's just it. And the thing is, I think that's very important because I don't know how some guys feel about themselves right now. Women are earning almost as much as us now, too, in some cases more. They get promotions. There's just so much, we'll say, because of equality or whatever, some guys get missed or some guys get left behind. And it's like, I don't know if they feel like men anymore. Like if they feel like they can't feel masculine, but at least in the gym, you can come in, get your pump on, work on yourself, work on your manhood. That's amazing. That's fantastic. So that's sort of why I want to work for guys, because I still feel like guys need some love. We might not talk about our emotions, but we're sensitive. We've got feelings. And that's because I'm a sensitive dude. I feel a lot, dude. I feel a lot. I have feelings. I'm open talking about them. And that's another thing that I do with my clients as well, too. A lot of them feel comfortable sharing their emotions and feelings with me. So, it's just, so that's where I see myself right now, being that person or creating that space where, guys can come and feel and just be guys. You don't have to be buff. You don't have to be, like, you just be. You can be a soft dude. You can be just a guy, and you don't have to worry about using the right pronouns or whatever, or just you can just talk to me and like, I'm a guy, I get it. You can just be. And the thing, I don't know if I feel like maybe you get it, because I feel like guys in general just tend to be chill. Sometimes you're really chill. When women come into the mix, sometimes that's when we have to like watch out. But then if it's just guys, guys are guys. So I really just want to just help more guys, because I feel like we need help. With women empowerment is taking off, and it's very, very good. I think every woman deserves to be seen, heard, and felt. But also it's like, can we do that without not putting down the guys? Like, can women climb up without putting guys down? And
I saw something. I shared it to my story the other day, and I didn't know if it was true, so I put up a poll asking people, like, is this true facts? And it said like 75% of suicides are men, or something like that. And then like when I mentor, we talk about male clients. Yeah. And like, you'll go reading through symptoms and everything, and vocally they'll be like, I'm fine. But then you go at symptoms, you're like, no, you're not. And it's like, what's stopping you from expressing what's actually going on inside? And is it a societal thing?
I feel like it's society, because it's this weird thing where it's society has kind of made it seem like, oh, you know what, men can't talk about their feelings. Well, men can't talk about their feelings. But then it's also like nowadays they're saying men should talk about their feelings. But then if you talk about your feelings, you're soft. And I say that because I've spoken about my feelings. And I think no one's really called me soft to my face because of how I look, because I have muscles or whatever, because I look like a man and like, I have my wife and everything. No one goes, oh, this guy is soft. Like when they see me, they see a strong, confident man, and no one's going to be like, this guy is soft. And if you do, say it to my face. No one said it to my face yet. But that's the thing. There are other guys who don't look like me, but they feel like me, and they need to talk. You don't need muscles. You don't need to be big, strong, and whatever, and like bold and everything to just say, hey, you know what? I'm hurting. I don't like this. I need help. Whatever the case might be. You don't need to look like me. But I feel like for me, I sort of have that advantage a little bit. And I say that advantage because when you look at most jack guys, you don't ever think that, oh yeah, that guy's a wuss. No, even if it's like he's experiencing pain, you're like, oh man, he must really be hurt because that guy is so tough for him to be like showing pain. Oh, he must really be hurt. You know, that's how we view the tough guys with muscles. So it's one of those, but the other guys without muscles who want to speak, but they're not allowed to talk, or they're not encouraged, or when they're encouraged, you know, they're made fun of by men or women, or they'll say, oh, you know, you're so, or they'll almost, I don't know if I say, make it effeminate, like, oh, you're so passionate, you're so sensitive. Every man should be passionate, man. We have feelings just like women. The only thing is we haven't or weren't encouraged to share or express them before. And then now, if we do, it has to be in the right place, the right time, the right setting. You know what I'm saying? Like, like for example, I mean, a guy can just say, oh, you know what? Oh, I hate how the women are just entering the workforce. A guy can say that and he will get destroyed. Women can say, I hate how men rule everything. Nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're both expressing how they feel, but the guy gets crucified, the woman gets to walk out scot-free. Why? That's society, man.
Yeah, and I've been in situations like that where, like one recently too, where I find I call it the buddy system. Meaning, so like you could be totally right, but because their buddies don't agree with you, then you're wrong. And this is something that happened like very, very recently.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so for me, and I'm not meaning like men, women kind of thing, just it could be both groups or whatever. But another thing too, like a little bit of like when you talk about men and emotions, a nerd fact on this, because I'm actually, after our podcast here, I'm going to put out my YouTube video on dopamine.
Okay.
Dopamine is actually, research is showing, is more responsible for things like depression rather than serotonin. And testosterone actually flushes more dopamine. So we have all these men. So this is why I put up that ask, do you think these statistics are true of the suicide rate? Because with knowing how much dopamine is going out of men's systems, so they're internalizing that depression and not expressing it. So like,
wow.
If we look at it from an actual, like, I just continue to call it a nerd perspective, it makes sense as to why the suicide rate would be that high in men, because not only we're not talking about it, but that is literally, shall I call it eligibility to be depressed because of hormones and neurotransmitters. Yeah. And so it's like, when I saw that statistic, I was like, okay, well, I didn't do my research. So I'm not saying, like, I'm not posting this because I'm saying it's true. I'm asking everybody else. But here sitting with you, I'm like, I kind of believe that statistic is probably true.
Yeah. And so this is me, even I'm trying to think where, so with my, I mean, like, I remember I told you when I first competed, that's when I started feeling emotions like sadness, all that stuff. Because prior to that, man, I was actually struggling with depression and mental health and even suicidal ideation. So I remember about when I was 22, I wanted to take my life. I mean, I remember I grabbed the kitchen knife, and what stopped me was I was like, man, I don't want my mom to come home and clean up a mess. I love her too much, you know. So she's gonna be crying, she's gonna be hurt, and then she has to clean up a bloody. That's too much. So that's why I didn't do it. Like literally, I didn't want it to clean up a mess. That's why. But like now in hindsight, I'm like, I mean, it's one of those like, I didn't want my mom to clean up a mess. That's why. It's not because I valued my life. It's like, no, I didn't want my mom to clean up a mess. I didn't want to ruin a carpet. I didn't want her to cry and be like, I should get it. You know, that's why I didn't do it. So like. But I mean, that I struggled with that in the past. And I mean, so with that, like being able to feel my feelings, being able to express my feelings, being able to talk about it, dude, I went from not feeling sad. If I felt sad, I'd be like, why are you feeling sad? Stop being a bitch. And then I get angry. So I was always angry, chip on my shoulder. I went from that to like, hey, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be, not okay to be depressed, but it's okay to feel depressed. It's okay to be, you know, to cry. It's okay for all these emotions that I never permitted or allowed myself to feel. Finally, I'm allowing myself to feel it. And I guess the good thing is, well, because I didn't have a lot of friends or there wasn't a lot of people around me, I gave myself the okay and said it was okay. Like I didn't have other people tell me it's okay. I told myself it's okay because these are my feelings and I need to own them. But how many other guys are, I guess, fortunate enough to, you know, maybe have that perspective or even have buddies or people who encourage them, you know what, yo, tell me how you feel. Share. No, like a lot of guys, they're silenced. And I mean, it's like, nobody wants to hear how you feel. It's almost like we're just supposed to pretend like everything is okay. We're supposed to pretend like everything is okay. And if something's not okay, we talk about it. My thing is, I mean, are we really heard? When I say are we really heard, it's like, are we really heard? And I say that because I feel like a lot of women are being heard. And I'm not knocking the women. I'm just saying a lot of women are being heard. A lot of trans people are being heard. A lot of homosexuals and gay people are being heard. But what about men? No, you guys have run things for so long. It's been a male-dominated world, patriarchy. Shut up. Men are being silenced. And we're killing ourselves. And people, oh, why are men killing themselves? You don't want us to talk.
Well, it's psychologically proven through replicated research that if a man cries in front of a woman, this obviously is not the correct term, but it's the gist of the idea. They think less of them.
Yeah, no. But the thing is, and so here's my question. Men have feelings. Okay, so if you feel pain and the pain wants to express itself as crying, and you don't cry, you're not allowing yourself to express yourself. Why is society okay with men shutting themselves down and not expressing themselves? But with women, express yourself to the 10th. And here's another thing too. With men, it's not just men, it's the straight men. If you're a trans or gay man, express yourself. Be gay, be trans, be whatever. But straight guys, shut up. We don't want to hear you. Why is that?
Yeah, it's a tough situation. And like I think when you ask like why is that, like I don't have a damn clue.
Yeah, no, neither do I. Like it's just a hypothetical question. It's like, why is that? Like, why is it that guys aren't allowed to talk? And I mean, but I feel like we also suffer. They say everybody else suffers, but other people are allowed to talk except the straight guys. Straight guys, oh, you have problems? Well, you're tough. Like, it's one of those, they expect us to be tough. They expect us to just deal with it. And then you'll hear some people saying, oh, you know what? No, guys, they're go. And I mean, I guess there's some groups where the guys are being encouraged to open up or to what do you call it, to be more vulnerable. But I also feel like some of those groups tend to be more, how do I put it this way without being offended? They tend to be, it's almost more on the feminine side. I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like, guys, I think we should be okay to express ourselves and just be. We don't have to, it doesn't have to be in a certain group or form, because women express themselves all the time. They don't need to be in a group. They don't need to be in the right space in the right time. Like you were saying, like it's scientifically proven. But what, and I mean, I sort of get it because, men are supposed to be protectors of all that stuff, but it's also 2023. There's so much science, knowledge, and research that's out there. And you're trying to tell me women still can't, because women or science can't just say, hey, you know what? Guys have feelings too. It's okay for them to cry. And it doesn't mean they're less than. Mm-hmm. Why hasn't the research shown that? Mm-hmm. Because I bet you there's research that will support it. It's just not talked about.
Yeah. And another way that I look at it too is we're so stressed out in today's society for various reasons, physical stress, perceived stress, environmental stress, but all of it is affecting our amygdala. And so I explain to people is amygdala is your ooga booga. Yeah. So it's your cave people thing. So I think that's another thing too, because we're mainly thinking with the amygdala, we resort back to that biological standard where, men are supposed to be tough and not emotional and go out hunting and provide for the family. And so that's what I'm kind of thinking is maybe that direction. Like I haven't really thought too much about it because where you work with mainly men, I work with mainly women. Like 98%. Yeah. Like I barely work with men. Yeah. And it's just, maybe it's because I started this with like lots of hormones and like correcting, and men don't have as many hormonal issues per se. I guess depends how you look at it. But so I don't experience what you experience. Yeah. Like I don't experience a man eventually opening up. And like when I do, it is almost kind of like, oh wow, like this is how a male is feeling. Yeah. It's rather interesting experience when they begin to open up. And do you find when they open up, do you find it's kind of similar to sometimes how maybe you or how your other female clients feel? Yeah, like I think it's one of those situations where it's like, if you would have said this from the beginning, I probably could have helped you better. And that's why I always say female clients I am a lot more successful with, because they are willing to open up day one about everything. So it enables me to do my job, whether it's gut health, whether it's hormones, whether it's working with birth control. Yeah. Where men, like I just had a mentor call before you came over. Yeah. We were talking and it's like, oh, my digestion's fine. Yeah. And then you start to dig deeper and deeper and then you find it's like, no, your digestion's not good. Yeah. But part of me thinks that's one of where they're, the feeling of being silenced. Yeah. Even in terms of just trying to talk to somebody about your digestion. That's interesting. So it's a very complicated topic, I think. It definitely is. It's one of those things where I kind of am interested in seeing how it plays out, because I have, to this date, I can't count on one hand, it's probably closer to 10 now, male friends that have committed suicide.
Oh man, like it's so fun. It's not funny, but it's couple, is it 2021? Yeah, 2021. Like this one sort of not so much messed me up, but it's the one where so a guy I knew actually, this guy, what's his name? Dan knows him as well too. He's a firefighter. The most recent one that
I know exactly what you're talking
like
about.
when that happened, because that was another guy, not so much that I used to look up.
He used to go to Good Life Fitness when I was there.
And I used to chat with him, and it's like Derek was a guy like I was buddies with, and it's like, that one didn't sit well with me. I mean, none of them really did, but it's just this thing where I think I saw him like a month or two before it happened. I seen him at Kings, and it's just, I had so many questions, and it's like, yo, why didn't you just say something? And it's like, I mean, I knew some of his friends, and I'm like, yo, did you say anything to you? Why didn't he say anything to anybody?
And you feel like you always could have helped? You feel like you could have changed that outcome?
No.
That's how I feel.
And I say that because the first person who took who committed suicide that kind of really messed me up was in when I was 23. So like, yeah, go figure. The same year I got dumped, all that stuff. That one of my friends committed suicide, and that one I blamed myself. And what I actually internalized and said, you know what? I feel like he did this so that I wouldn't take my own life, because I wanted to. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. But then seeing him in the casket, I was like, I felt like I needed to see that so I wouldn't take my life. So part of me, that's the story I told myself, was like, well, the guilt, what made me feel guilty is like, he did this so I wouldn't do that. But I wish he had actually just talked to me, because I was struggling through the same thing, and like maybe we could have helped each other. So that's sort of how I did. Right. Like now the way the story behind it is different. Like I don't blame myself or whatever, but that was then for me to get over it and for me to not take my life and give myself a second chance. That's what I told myself. And so at 23, that happened. So like now a decade later, how many other guys? So there's 4 other guys that I've known. So basically 5 guys in the decade who I know who have taken their lives, and it's like none of them talked to anybody or felt like they could talk to anybody. And that's the thing. Why did they feel like they felt like they had to behave a certain way? And if you feel like you have to behave a certain way, I mean, as somebody who grew up with culture and felt like, you have to do things a certain way for the culture, I know what kind of a prison that was. And the thing is, we are in a place or a society where it promotes individuality, promotes freedom of expression, but only for a certain group of people. You express yourself and show that you're struggling. Like, so let me give you an example. When I put social media, when I put some posts on Instagram that like I'm struggling with this, or just a little bit of some involved, I get way more interaction from women and not a lot from guys. As in, some guys will like it, but also feel like some guys are scared that I shared what I shared. Okay. Whether because I don't know if it's because they're feeling that same way, or they can't believe Nathaniel just wrote this on Instagram, or like I don't know what the case might be, but like the guys that do comment or the guys that do share something are usually guys who I'll say are also sensitive as well too. So sensitive like me, or maybe they're also going through some mental health struggle, because I'll get messages from guys like, well, thanks for posting that, bro. Like I needed to hear that today, or thank you for posting that. I didn't know you struggle with this. Or like, man, like, it's nice to see a guy like you. And I'm performing. I was like, that's the part of like a guy like me. What does that mean? That's why I feel like maybe people view me different because I have muscles, but it's like, well, it's nice to hear a guy like you posting about stuff like that, or we need more guys posting like this. And it's like, then do so. Like, I mean, I don't mind doing it, but do other guys feel like they can do it? Mm-hmm. I think where I came from is because I was once suicidal. I wanted to take my life. I didn't. Because I didn't. This is my second chance at life. So I'm not going to hide behind anything. I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't speak my truth. I can't, because no, man, like I almost took my life. So like right now that I'm alive, guess what? I'm going to open my mouth. I'm going to say things. You don't like it? Too bad for you. Yeah. You can open your mouth too. We don't have to agree. Mm-hmm. So that's where it comes from me. Like, I don't mind being vulnerable. I don't mind speaking up, but that's also because I know where I was. I was lost. I almost took my life. So like, I have a different perspective on being able to, on speaking and being vulnerable. Because for me, I see it more as like, I'd rather speak what I feel and experience what I feel and let people know I'm hurting, or just be real with myself than try to pretend. Because I pretended in the past, and like, I would not have been here if I pretended. Oh, sorry. yeah, I would not be here if I'd pretended. So yeah, so for me, it's I don't see it that way. But other guys, I mean, I don't know how they feel. And my thing is, if a lot of guys are not able to express themselves or feel or express their feelings, I feel not so much that there's something wrong, but it's yeah, I feel like there is something wrong. I mean, I'm not saying everybody should go out there and be like, oh yeah, I feel this way, but like if you need help, you're struggling with something, you should feel okay too. And I feel like most often it's women that I see doing that. Like women will post statuses on Facebook, they'll post stuff on Instagram, they're struggling with guys, everything is fine, everything's fine. But also, I mean, this is just a maybe a hypothetical question. Is it because we've been shamed in the past, maybe you're a child, maybe someone's like, oh, big boys don't cry, or just that kind of societal like brainwashing or whatever, or like you never see guys you look up to say anything like what's this guy's name, like just forgot his name. There's a comedian, Robin, is it Robin took his life.
Robin Williams.
Yeah, Robin Williams took his life. He didn't. Why didn't he say anything? Like why? This was somebody who I feel like could have, it's like he could have said something. I'm not saying he should have, but he could have. I mean, I like to think he was free to express himself, but he didn't. Why?
Yeah, like you think you'd have a big outlet,
think,
so you kind of wonder what demons like they're fighting.
It just makes you think, like, were they shamed before? Why? Because when women talk about their feelings, they're not shamed. No one ever says, oh, you talked about being molested or being raped. Oh, shut up. Keep that to yourself. Nobody ever does that. They're shown empathy. They're shown compassion. When guys do that, it's very mixed feelings. Like that's the thing. I still, for me personally, I'm like, I don't get. Like we're guys. We have feelings. Women talk about it. They're embraced. The guys talk about it. It's weird, and I say it's weird because it's like it's not always well received, but it should be well received.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody comes out, they're talking about this, it's well received.
Mm-hmm.
A guy's talking about his mental health, it's not well received. So I can come and be like, I'm gay, everybody's happy. I'm depressed. Oh, I don't want to hear that, man. Like, what? I don't understand. So like, man, we can only be funny, we can only be happy, we can't be sad. Women, y'all can be everything. I'm not knocking at women. It's just, I just don't understand where that is. So for me, what I do is, I mean, like, because I guess it comes more natural to me. I find when I actually do talk about something, maybe, and that's the thing, randomly I'll just say something like, oh man, I used to struggle with this, or I could never talk to girls. And I found like my guy clients are like, what Nathaniel's saying? Like I'm sharing stuff that maybe they wouldn't talk about. Then after a while, like they actually just start sharing stuff with me.
Yeah.
So that's sort of how, so that's honestly how I see it. For me, I see it as like a way for me to connect with guys, for me to be able to grow a relationship with them, challenge them a little bit, and just let them know that, you're safe here. Like you can be strong, you can be vulnerable, you can be whatever. And like, I don't judge you. And I think also because I never really fit in, I see myself as like a weirdo. I also get other weirdos or other guys who don't fit in. So if a tough guy is like, oh, I'm so tough, but I have these feelings, and like he doesn't feel like a tough guy, it's like, yo, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a skinny guy who's like, oh, he wants to, he wants to, I don't know, like he feels a certain way. It's like, I get it because I've been there, because I'm a weirdo too. Like I still see myself as a skinny guy. So it's one of those, I like to think I get other guys, and because not so much, I get some guys, and also because I've had more practice with being vulnerable, and I don't really care much about the outcome, as in if people get bothered about it, or if people, empathize with me over it, I'm okay with it. And me talking about it, I find in a way has helped other guys feel like they can talk about it. Now, will they talk about it? That's a different thing. But at least it's like, if I keep talking about it, or I use my voice, or or whatever, and I'm not shy to talk about my mental health or mental health struggles, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like there's been several times where in session I'm like, oh man, there was a time when I was so depressed. I'm like, people, it's what I just say it like casually, because it's like, dude, it's depression. I have nothing to be ashamed about. Like if you've been depressed, so what? Like it's not your story. It's nothing to be ashamed about. So I'll just say casually, oh yeah, like when I was depressed, I remember this one time, oh man, I was so depressed, I didn't want to work out. Or I'm like, my guy clients are like, what? Like they can't believe it, because like I'm prepping right now and I'm telling them I was so depressed I didn't want to work out, and then they see a different side of me, like, oh yeah, this guy had issues, he had problems, and then they see the I guess the humanness in me, they're able to talk more. And so like, that's for me, one of the reasons I think why I still like working with guys. And also I want to eventually transition from fitness into more life coaching.
So you said that, okay, so you want to transition into life coaching.
Yes.
And then I remember when I had asked you originally to come on as a guest, you said you were launching something, and that was what I asked you beginning or end of March.
Yeah. So
and then you said you were launching it middle of April. And so what is that?
well, so actually I might actually end up being pushed a little bit, and that's actually like me transitioning to like the life coaching thing.
Okay, yeah.
So right now I just have some guys working on it, and yeah, because it's one thing I've really felt like with fitness, I can only help. I mean, while I can transform lives, I can only help within my scope of practice, which is mostly health and fitness. And I feel like the mind is one of the most powerful tools, gifts, whatever we have. That's a bad word to use. Whatever that we have, it's one of the most powerful gifts and tools that we have. And I've spent a lot of time, just understanding the mindset, and even learning how to change perspective or help people transform perspectives. So one of the things that I'm working on and is going to be starting soon, and it's very, very scary for me because it's outside of my comfort zone. It's not something I've done before, is actually doing more life coaching and just putting out more value. So the goal is to help people with their confidence and mindset, because I feel like if you have the right mindset, well, you can achieve anything. Well, not that you can achieve, you can achieve anything, but also confidence is what yeah. So with the confidence aspect, that's where you get to share a little bit more of you or your authentic self, because I feel like in order for you to make an impact, you sort of have to be confident in who you are, what you do, and how you do it well. If you don't have the confidence, you are not going to shoot big. You're not going to reach for the stars. You'll play small. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there are some guys maybe who have, or not guys, people, whatever, they have a lot to offer, but then they don't believe in themselves. And I'm saying this
because, like imposter syndrome.
Exactly, because this is actually something I struggled with for years, actually, imposter syndrome. This is what I have to offer. Like, I have this to offer, but I have struggled so hard. I've struggled so hard and so long to do it, to offer it, because of imposter syndrome, because I felt like, I wasn't good enough. It's one of those, I felt like people just see me, people just see me as like a fitness personality. So why should they see me as like a life coach or somebody who can help transform their life, transform their business, transform their relationships? Why should they see me as that? But that was also part of my journey. That was something I had to go through. I had to go through that process of overcome my limiting beliefs, overcome mental barriers, overcome blocks, and everything, and just be aligned with who I truly am. And who I truly am is empowering people. I think I chose fitness, or started off with fitness, because that's what came to me naturally. It was something I already had the passion for. I had a ton of experience in. And I mean, I started working as a personal trainer back in 2015. So, I mean, after having a lot of, after doing this now, I'm at a point where I'm like, with the guys I'm working with and with just how things are changing, I do more, it's fitness and lifestyle. So I'm kind of like in the lifestyle and the mindset a little bit. And I'm like, dude, Nathaniel, this is really what I need to do more of. And there's this feeling that I've had inside of me that's like, I've wanted to do it. And maybe you may have even seen on social media, because there's sometimes where like I'll be more fitness, and it's like more mindset, more fitness, because I've been kind of like on and off. And I think part of the reason, if I'm just being very honest with the off part, is when I've gone to more of the mindset stuff, I didn't see a lot of guys receive it very well. I felt like they were very scared. So for me, I'm like, I want to help these gentlemen. I want to help these dudes, but they're not welcoming me. They're not receiving me. But why am I doing it now? Well, I realized I've never really fit in. So why should I expect to fit in now? That's part of it. So like, this is part of my journey. I never really felt like I fit in with the fitness industry, but guess what? I've been in the fitness industry for so long. Mm-hmm. Do I fit in as like, like your normal life coach or whatever? I don't know, but I'm still going to enter the space. And why am I saying I don't fit in with like the normal life coach? Dude, I feel like other life coaches are like, other life coaches, they're all like Zen, hippie. They all talk like this. they don't talk with energy. They don't talk fast. Like they don't, like, most likely it's like, yeah, so this is what we're going to do today. And we're going to be so calm and we're going to be so gentle. And I come with fire. I come with passion. Like, this is me. So I always felt like, I don't fit in. I felt like an imposter because I'm like, life coaches aren't like, like they're not big, but that's who I am. So, but the thing is now when I work with guys and I do that, there's the gentle aspect, there's the aspect, and every part of it is appreciated. And the thing is, that's who I am. And if you think about just what I said with the confidence, it's, if what do you call it? If I know who I am, well, which is who I am, life coach, inspirator, motivator, empowerment, whatever, empowerment coach. And I know what I do and I know how well, and I know how I do it best. Like I come in with passion, and I'm not saying other coaches don't come with passion. I just come with a lot.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do, or like that's what I'm heading towards right now. And so what I'm working right now towards is just finishing up my premium offer and my core offers, and that's it. So that's a lot of work. And I say it's a lot of work. I thought I was going to be done by the middle of April, but because this is not something I'm familiar with, it's actually taking a lot longer. So it's going to be a while. I don't know when the website should be done. I have somebody who's helping me with the website, but it's something I've wanted to do for a while. And I've had a couple of guys actually tell me, you know what, you'll be good at it. I see you as a life coach, man. Like, so it's about time for me to just go out there and do something I'm passionate about, empowering guys, seeing guys like kick ass and win at life. And the thing too is like, this came from me helping guys through fitness. And I realized, the guys who, the fitness was just one aspect. It was just an aspect for them to like change their life and transform their life. So seeing how fitness has helped them a little bit, I'm like, man, imagine if I could spend some time one-on-one, really get into the brain, get into the heart, I'm gonna do damage. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going straight for the heart, straight for the mind, because honestly, that's what matters, man. It's we need more confident guys out there. We need more guys living the truth. We need more guys living life with passion. Sharing the feeling, sharing the emotion, and not feeling ashamed of it. You don't need anybody to, what do you call it? To validate your feelings. Your feelings are valid. Just share them, talk to them about it. Be a light for somebody else. And that's sort of what I'm working towards. That's what I'm all about right now. So will I still be doing fitness? Yes, I believe I'll still be doing fitness. I'll still be training people because I love working with people. I love connecting with people. I love the fitness industry. But I want to get more involved with men's minds and men's hearts, because that's really what I have a passion for. Even when I started with fitness, it was more about the transformation, and how I teach people is help them overcome some of the limiting beliefs. Like I like having people do stuff they didn't think they could do. I'm just going to put 2 plates on it. Nate, I haven't done 2 plates. Don't worry, you can do it. And then they do it. I'm like, see, this is one thing. You need to start trusting me, because the thing is, there's a trusting. If you trust me, then you're going to know, you know what, Nate sees, because the thing is, I'm not going to have you do something I don't think you can do. I tell every one of my clients that if I'm having you do something, even if you've never done it before, it's because I know you can do it. And guess what? You just proved me right. So the next time I want you to do something and it's outside of your comfort zone, know that I know you can do it. But the thing is, do you know you can do it? That's what I'm trying to prove to you. If I'm having you do this, I'm trying to show you you can do it. So the next time I have you to do something, don't ask questions, just do it. Mm-hmm. And now a lot of my clients are starting to get that, because it's not just about the exercise, it's about the mind. So even how I train, I train them physically, but I really get after the minds. So I've been doing that a whole lot more since the end of 2021. One of my clients, and he's actually one of the ones who inspired me to do this, Mark. So Mark Jordan, if you actually listen to this, man, you're the one responsible for this. But this guy, when he first came to the gym, Mark couldn't even look me in the eye. We're having a consultation, and he lacked, and I'm not saying he didn't have confidence in himself, but I don't know if he was shy or whatever, but he was so soft-spoken, looking at me in the eye and making eye contact, he was struggling to do, but he was struggling to do it. And when we would work together, he'd always stick with me like a puppy dog. If I had to go to the washroom, I feel like he'd be like, oh man, like stuck like a deer in the headlights. He had, he didn't talk to people in the gym. And now it's like the other day he was showing Michael, one of the gym members, a stretch. Like this, Mark went from keep to himself to like, oh, he knows a lot of the regulars in the gym. He's buddies. He also entered the transformation challenge, the New You at the WMBF New You transformation challenge. And before he got on stage, he had mad nerves, anxiety. I had to get Corey's mom to perform some Reiki on him. But you know, like after that, I have never ever, okay, fine, I have now because he did it to me. But before Mark, I'd never ever had a grown man carry me in his arms and swirl me around. Like, that's how happy the dude was. Like, he was over the moon. And I mean, like, so Mark, he lost about 60 pounds together, but he was so happy. He said he never thought he would ever do this, cross the stage. Now he's thinking of competing in powerlifting. Like, his life has changed. Why? Mostly because of fitness, but also because I've challenged him. I've shown him, like, dude, you're capable of so much more. I encourage him to like step outside or go do this. Like, it's one of those, I challenge him not just in the gym, but just at life, you know? And what else? And I think because of that, it's like, you know, he stepped out of his comfort zone. He's done things that like he normally wouldn't do. He's happier. And it's like, but honestly, seeing how, and like, I know he's been happy, but seeing, like literally seeing that, like he carried me and he like turned me around 3 times. Like my son was then, I'm like, I felt like a little boy. I've never, like, it's so weird. I've never had a man carry me and like so happy and like, dude, he was overjoyed. And for me, I'm like, I love this feeling. Like, I love seeing him so happy and I love sort of how I felt. And I'm like, yeah, I need to do more of this. That's what I need to do. Like, the fitness is good, but like more men need this. Like this, if I stop working with him right now, he's a changed man. Yeah. Like I don't even have to worry about him. So that just lit up my passion for more mindset coaching and everything. Funny enough, actually not funny enough, got my certification as a life coach in 2020, and I'm also finishing up my certification in NLP. So I don't know if you know NLP. What's NLP? Neuro-linguistic programming. So it's basically just changing, just helping people change their thought patterns. Okay. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, exactly. I didn't know you already had the life coaching part. There's a lot you don't know. No, it's one because it truly is. I didn't tell a lot of people because, like I said, it's one of those. I still didn't have full confidence myself. There's still the imposter syndrome. I was like, people see me as a fitness person. Why am I going to put myself as a life coach? Like, I don't look like a life coach, But I think that's actually what's going to differentiate me from other life coaches. A lot of big dudes might not want to talk to some skinny hippie dude, but they'll talk to me. Why? Yo, man, I'm a competitor. I'm a macho dude. I get it. You can talk to me about your feelings. You can get all soft and feminine, and I will not look at you different. I will still see you like a beast, the man that you are, the man that you deserve to be. Why? Because I get it. Like I look like this versus, imagine like it's just one of those. I don't know if you know this, but there's this thing in the gym where big guys they don't take advice from little guys because like, well, I'm bigger than you. I'm not going to take advice from you. What do you mean if I don't? That's my life. But that's legit it. Like that's how big guys are. So now, and that's how big guys think. That's literally how they think. Do you think they're going to go talk to a hippie life coach? Yeah. No. Because it's like, man, who's this guy who, does yoga? He's 160 pounds, does all. They're not going to talk to him, but they're going to talk to me. Yeah. I look like this. I got a beautiful wife. I got a beautiful family. I have the things they want. You're trying to tell me those guys are not going to talk to me? They will. And that's what I feel like sets me apart from other coaches or can set me apart from other coaches. I'm not saying I want to, work with macho dudes or whatever, but I feel like that I have a little bit of a, because of my energy, my passion or whatever, I do have something different that other male life coaches don't have. And even though I'm saying life coach right now, the thing that I'm mostly, I guess that I'm niching on is mindset and confidence, because you have the right mindset and you have the confidence to carry out what is in your mind. No one's stopping you. Yeah. Other than death. Well, I guess not. Yeah. So no one is stopping you. Something can stop you, but no one's stopping you. Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I'm heading, man. Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of like the whole confidence part too. And that's why I like about imposter syndrome, because like, I think the whole comment where you said like the big guy's not going to listen to the little guy. I fight with that because like of my knowledge that I have, I can help the big guy, but because I don't play that part. But the thing is like, I'm not trying to get big. Yeah. Like I'm not working on other issues, but the world doesn't see that, And it's funny you say that because I say that because I've tried to help big guys too. And like any big guy right now, I can probably help them get bigger, because a lot of big guys, sometimes they're just big because they just happen to be big. Like I was 127 pounds. So I'm not ever going to be 250 something pounds. Some guys were 170. So when they start lifting weights, they'll get to 240. And then if they, jump on the sauce, they can even get bigger. So it's one of those, like I can help them get bigger because I understand how to put on muscle. If I was 127 pounds, I got to 200 pounds. You're trying to tell me I can help you get from 240 to 260? I can do that. You're already big. I can help you get bigger. I understand how to put on muscle. So, but big guys won't listen to me because they're bigger than me.
Yeah.
That's just how they are. And I mean, it's one of those, I used to bother me too, but I made my peace with it because the thing is I realized like it's one of those, if I help you get bigger, your ego's just going to grow. So like, maybe that's not what you need because the thing is big guys have a lot of ego. So I didn't realize where I would feel something with my own ego because I'm like, I want to help you. Can't you see I want to help you? I'm like, oh, this is my ego. I want to help the big guy. So do I need to help the big guy? Forget the big guy. So like now I don't care much about big guys, but it's a thing. But like it's sort of a trend, or it's actually a fact, truth. They will not take information from guys who are smaller than them, unless maybe like they know you from like maybe you used to be a retired IFBB coach, or one of their other big boys told them about you. Like otherwise, not big guys are weird. But at least maybe if they hear me, somebody else with muscles talk and everything, like they might be like, oh, you know what, it's actually okay. It's okay for me to talk to this guy or to learn from this guy or to actually just talk about my feelings. But
yeah, well, it goes back to what you said, like, or we were talking about earlier, just your success will do the talking.
Yep.
And then people will come to you. So that's awesome, man. Like I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
and that's very exciting. I can't wait till you can get this in full motion.
I can't wait to.
We know people need this help. We know men need this help. And, to, like you said it yourself, you definitely got the energy. And that's, what I really appreciate about you. You got the experience, you've been there. And I think you are, if we had to put it in this category, like a good spokesperson for this, because you're right. You got the look and everything. And so maybe people that have been in this shell can finally break out, and you can be that person to help them break out of that shell. Like Mark there, because that is very inspiring, and to just see somebody transform. And that's what I mean, not transform physically, transform mentally. Because that's the goal. At the end of the day, that's the goal. That's amazing, man. And I'm super excited for you. And I just can't wait to see what you can do. So, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming here.
Thanks for having me. This is a blast.
And like, I knew we were going to talk. I knew we were going to talk about this, but then to hear just your whole life story and like your culture and everything, that really added to it. Man, so I really enjoyed this.
I'm happy. Great time. I'm happy to. I'm happy you had me here. The first one you sent me, I was like, I'm going to be on a podcast. Well, we'll see how this goes. But now I'm like, this is awesome. I love this. Yeah, thanks,
great
man.
Time,
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks so much again, man.
Thank you very much for having me.
You guys take care.
Take care.